Chapter 723. In the sky above dragon-shaped island, two figures stood thousands of meters high. The people on the ground couldn't see them at all, but they could see everything on dragon-shaped island. They were none other than Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi, who had just returned from the East Sea. "Do you think Qin Yi will give up?" Tang Xiaoxi asked. "I don't know," Lin Muyu frowned. "First of all, Qin Yi might not believe our map. Second, Qin Yi is old. Returning to his homeland is his biggest dream. He might not be able to resist this temptation." "Xiaoxi, have you really informed Min Yulin's army?" "Yes." Tang Xiaoxi was a little worried. I actually don't understand. Why did we tell the Iha nation about the celestial pole continent? I'm afraid only the two of us know about this in the entire Shattered Cauldron realm. Why did we tell the Iha nation instead of letting the Empire take precautions?" Lin Muyu clenched her fists. Regardless of whether what the people on the merchant ship said is true or not, the existence of the celestial pole continent is already inevitable. The Iha nation is on dragon-shaped island, which is located in the east of Lingdong province. If the celestial pole continent really attacks, dragon-shaped island will probably be the first to bear the brunt. At that time, Long Qianlin and Ding Shi will become the first line of defense for the humans of the Shattered Cauldron realm. I don't want them to die in vain. A day ago, Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi had found a cargo ship that had gotten lost on the sea in the East Sea. From there, they learned about the tip of the iceberg of the celestial pole continent. It was a plane that was completely different from the Shattered Cauldron realm. Furthermore, it was also a powerful enemy in the future. The existence of the celestial pole continent made Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi confused, let alone others. "I really hope the people on that cargo ship are lying to us," Tang Xiaoxi said softly. "The possibility isn't high," Lin Muyu said with a frown. "If that's the case, the Qin Empire will be in imminent danger." "Yeah." Lin Muyu thought for a while and said, "For now we can only hope that the Longdan army camp can quickly eliminate the devil race and sweep away the scourge of the devil race. Then the whole empire can work together to resist the upcoming war. If it wasn't for the fact that I had to quickly return to set up a defense, I really wanted to go to the celestial pole continent and see what that continent, which is on the same plane as us, looks like." Tang Xiaoxi remained silent. In the palace hall of the dragon-shaped island, a simple map was unfolded. Qin Yi, Long Qianlin, Marquis Sunset Manning, Ding Shi and the others were looking at it together. "How is this possible?" Man Ning wriggled his chubby palm, took the wine cup from the waiter and said, "To the east of the dragon-shaped island is an endless sea. For tens of thousands of years, I've never heard of another continent. How is this possible?" Qin Yi narrowed his eyes and said, "General Long, this map was sent by a mysterious person. Do you think the celestial pole continent really exists?" Long Qianlin cupped his fists and said, "Commander-in-Chief, let's not talk about whether this celestial pole continent really exists or not. However, the map's records are reasonable and based on evidence. It even marks the military strength of the three empires in the celestial pole continent. I think we have to guard against it." Ding Shi stretched out his palm and stroked the rough map. The figures on it were just drawn. He thought for a while and read the words on it, saying, "The total area of the celestial pole continent is more than 7 times that of the Shattered Cauldron realm. It is ruled by 3 empires. Among them, the Tianji Empire is the strongest with 800,000 elite troops. The Celestial Empire has the largest territory, occupying 40% of the continent. Its 6 major armies have a total military strength of 1.5 million. The Blackstone Empire has the smallest territory and the smallest population, but it also has 500,000 elite troops. If what is recorded on this map is true, I'm afraid that the doomsday has come for both the Iha Empire and the Qin Empire." Qin Yi said, "Now that our 3 armies are on standby, are we going to attack the Lingkong province or not? If we miss this opportunity to strike with Qianfeng, I'm afraid there won't be a next time." Qin Huan said, "Father, don't think so much. Let's attack. This is a great opportunity for us to take revenge. The majority of the Longdan army camp's troops have already entered the Heavenly Gorge. The Lingkong province and the Lingdong province are both empty. Our 200,000 troops are enough to wipe them out." "What happens after wiping them out?" Ding Shi frowned and said, "We and the Empire will both suffer heavy losses. At that time, if the celestial pole continent really starts a war, how are we going to contend against them?" Qin Huan's face was filled with disdain. He laughed loudly and said, Commander Ding is indeed old. A groundless map is enough to stop you in your tracks. With your courage, I'm afraid it'll be very difficult for you to lead the Iha Empire's warriors back to their homeland. Long Qianlin was stunned. Qin Huan was openly provoking Ding Shi like this. How could this old general endure it? Young Highness, we need to consider this matter at length. What? Is Commander Long afraid too? Qin Huan said indifferently. Not afraid but worried. Long Qianlin said, We've sent out so many fast ships to search for new land in the Eastern Sea region, but not a single one has returned. What does this mean? If it weren't for the powerful sea fleets in the distant sea region, I wouldn't be able to provide a reasonable explanation for this matter. Being afraid of wolves in front and tigers behind, how are you going to restore the Iha Empire? Qin Huan's expression was extremely unsightly. He was in the pro-war faction. Being the young highness of a mere dragon-shaped island obviously couldn't be compared to being the young highness of the Lingdong. Are we going to fight or not? Marquis Manning narrowed his eyes. I think it's better to let the commander decide. Qin Yi sighed helplessly and waved his hand. Forget it. Since the two marshals have no intention to fight, let's just sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. Hopefully, Qianfeng can consume more of the empire's military power. Ding Shi and Long Qianlin glanced at each other in silence. They looked at the map in front of them with ashen faces. 3 days later, the devil race retreated step by step. More than half of the Heavenly Gorge was already under the control of the Longdan army camp. Lin Muyu left Tang Xiaoxi and Ouyang Yan to guard the Longdan army camp. She had to go to the Eastern Sea region to take a look. The existence of the celestial pole continent was like a nightmare tormenting him. The Shattered Cauldron realm hadn't been unified yet, and a new powerful enemy had appeared out of nowhere. He secretly lamented his bitter fate. He originally thought that he would be able to return with beauties after fighting for 10 years in the Shattered Cauldron realm. Now it seemed that he would have to fight for another 10 years. Moreover, the outcome was unpredictable. The unknown enemy was really too powerful. Whoosh. After flying non-stop for nearly a day, Lin Muyu flew like a sharp arrow with the power to split the waves. She sped across the sea surface. After a careful calculation, she had flown for about 2,000 kilometers. She could already see ships in the distance. Furthermore, the fluttering flags were completely different from those of the Shattered Cauldron realm. Whoosh! With a sway of her body, she soared into the sky and hid among the lingering clouds. Overlooking the sea, a fleet came into view. It was a fleet consisting of at least 50 warships. The leading warship was nearly 200 meters long. Furthermore, it was a fortress ship and the number of soldiers it carried was definitely not small. Furthermore, there was a huge creature on the deck of the fortress ship. It was a huge lizard with wings and red scales all over its body. Lin Muyu's heart sank. A word was on the verge of coming out of her mouth. Western Dragon? What kind of existence was this celestial pole continent? The flag fluttered in the sea breeze. It was a war flag with red clouds on it. Lin Muyu didn't know which empire it belonged to. She knew almost nothing about this place. She didn't care about that anymore. She had to understand this place first. Lin Muyu's heart was as clear as a mirror. The people of the Shattered Cauldron realm didn't know about the existence of the Celestial Pole continent, and the people of the Celestial Pole continent definitely didn't know about the existence of the Shattered Cauldron realm. Whoever understood the opponent first would have a greater advantage. At night, in a tavern in a small city near the sea in the Celestial Pole continent, a blue-clothed dancer swayed her enchanting body and looked at the customers in the tavern in a licentious manner. She sang an unbearable song, and customers would throw copper coins or even silver coins onto the stage from time to time. There were even bold customers who walked up to her and struck up a conversation. "How much can I pay for you to appear on my bed tonight?" The dancer smiled and didn't say anything. In an inconspicuous corner of the tavern, a young man dressed in a dark blue robe sat there quietly. He held a huge bamboo cup and drank the malt wine inside. To be honest, the wine in the Celestial Pole continent was far inferior to that of the Empire. The tavern was the place where one could understand a plane the best. Lin Muyu had been here for half a day and had a slight understanding of this place. This was just a small city in the Tianji Empire. The flags of those warships she saw during the day were the flags of the Tianji Empire. The emperor of the Tianji Empire was called Baiming Yuan, so this empire belonged to the Baiming clan. The The Tianji Empire was very powerful. At least that was what their people thought. I'm the man who's going to become the sacred martial god. A young and tender voice came from afar. Lin Muyu raised her head and saw a young and tender face. It was a young man who was about 17 or 18 years old, but he had an unruly look on his face. Sacred martial god? With just you? A scorching slap landed on the young man's face. A person who looked like a mercenary stepped on the young man and pressed him down hard a few times. He said, "In the past tens of thousands of years, there have only been 5 sacred martial gods in the empire. Who do you think you are? You want to become a sacred martial god? Wipe my boots clean first, you good-for-nothing who has high expectations but low ability." Bullying was the same in every plane. Lin Muyu didn't meddle in other people's business and continued to drink. At the same time, she learned some things about the cultivation world in the celestial pole continent from the mercenaries' conversations. The classification of strength in the celestial pole continent was very clear. The strongest person was called the sacred martial god, who was at least at the divine emperor realm. There were more than 2 sacred martial gods in the whole continent, which was very terrifying. Next were the sacred martial kings and sacred martial venerables, who had the strength of divine kings and divine venerables. Then came the sacred martial warriors. The sacred martial warriors were experts with the cultivation of the sacred region. They were only legends in small towns like this. Many people had never even seen the legendary sacred martial warriors. The Tianji Empire had a total of 5 sacred martial gods, 11 sacred martial kings, 112 sacred martial venerables, and more than 2,000 sacred martial warriors. Their strength was not ordinary and terrifying. The more Lin Muyu heard, the colder she felt. Did the Shattered Cauldron realm really want to go to war with such a strong enemy? Chapter 724. Hi, brother. A slightly sharp voice sounded in her ear. When Lin Muyu turned around, she saw a young man limping over with a crutch in his hand. He was about 25 years old, wearing white linen clothes with several cloth bags hanging on his waist. His face was full of stubble. He probably didn't have time to take care of it, but the light in his eyes told everyone not to underestimate this lame young man. He sat opposite Lin Muyu and said with a smile, "Only if you buy me a drink I can help you read your face." Face. Lin Muyu smiled faintly. "Man, give him a glass of wine." Dang. A full glass of barley wine fell in front of the cripple. He didn't rush to drink it. Instead he took a deep breath and said, "The fragrance of malt wine is really as charming as a girl in the wilderness." As he said this, he drank a big mouthful of wine. His stubble was stained with wine, which looked very unhygienic. Lin Muyu didn't care about this. She just smiled and asked, "Now can you tell me? How is my face?" The huckster squinted his eyes and carefully looked at Lin Muyu. He said, "Brother, although you are handsome and have an extraordinary appearance, your eyebrows are dark. I am afraid that you will be in big trouble in the next few days. If you keep talking, I guarantee that you will be in big trouble now." As a god, Lin Muyu naturally didn't believe in this kind of fortune-telling. In any case, he was also a god who could listen to the prayers of the people. What fortune-telling? Mortals just believed in it. The killer flashed through Lin Muyu's palm, but the cripple was scared out of his wits. The young man in front of him was obviously not as simple as he looked. The momentum that he emitted was simply suffocating. Maybe he was a young master from the imperial capital who came to this poor place just to travel around the continent. Also, the golden light that flashed through his eyes might be a monster. "What is your name?" Lin Muyu didn't make things difficult for him. Instead, he began to ask questions. He needed someone to tell him everything about the Tianji Empire and the Celestial Pole continent. "Wu Sanpao, people call me Lu Bai." Lu Bai's entire body was trembling and his voice was trembling as he said, "This kid can be considered somewhat famous in Clear Desolate City. Some people call me Divine Image." Lin Muyu didn't care about these things. Her expression calmed down a little and she said with a smile, "Well, Brother Lini, I've been cultivating in the deep mountains with my family for many years, so I don't know much about the outside world. Can you tell me something about the Tianji Empire and the mainland? I'll treat you to a drink until you're satisfied." Lu Bai was taken aback. It had been a long time since someone had been so extravagant as to treat him to a drink. Moreover, looking at the appearance of this kid in front of him, he really did seem to be a rash young man who had just come out from the depths of the mountains to cultivate. In an instant, Lu Bai's expression became arrogant. He placed one leg on the bench and said arrogantly, "Since that's the case, then little brother, you should listen to your big brother's words. Buddy, give me another jar of wine. I want to drink to my heart's content." "Lu Bai, did you bring enough money?" "Don't worry, I met a benefactor today." A jar of wine was placed firmly in the center of the table. Lu Bai pulled a drumstick from the roasted chicken and gnawed on it until his mouth was greasy. He said, "Brother, since you have cultivated in the mountains for many years, you must have some skills. However, there are many hidden dragons and crouching tigers in the celestial pole continent. Even if you have some skills, you must be careful. Otherwise, you may lose your life because of your rashness one day. This is my first advice to you. Be careful when you encounter problems. Remember, you can't force yourself." Lin Muyu deeply agreed and nodded, "Yes," and then Lu Bai wiped the grease from the corner of his mouth and continued, "If you want to talk about the celestial pole continent, this continent is really big. If you run at full speed from the west to the eastern border of the continent, it would take as long as 2 months. Furthermore, there are a total of 5 powerful and invincible forces on the continent. They are divided into 3 great empires and 2 great tribes." "What do you mean?" "The 3 empires are the Tianji Empire, the Celestial Empire, and the Blackstone Empire. They fight every year, but they have never been able to determine the winner in more than 1,000 years. More than 3,000 years ago, there was a supreme overlord who once unified the celestial pole continent, but in less than 100 years his empire collapsed into 3 kingdoms. Among the 3 empires, our Tianji Empire is the strongest. One of the 3 sacred sects in the cultivation world, the Tianji sect, is located in our Tianji Empire. In terms of national strength, the Celestial Empire is second and the Blackstone Empire is the worst, but we are not too inferior." "Tell me about the cultivation world. What's the matter with the 3 sacred sects?" Lin Muyu asked with a frown. "In fact, it's very simple. It's just like a sect. The continent is divided into several levels according to the strength of the sections. The first is the sacred sect, the second is the king sect, the third is the heavenly sect, and the fourth is the earth sect. The whole celestial pole continent is divided into 3 king sects, which are the Tianji sect, the Tianjue sect, and the Thunder Flame sect. Next are the 7 great sects, 59 heavenly sects, and more than 3,000 earth sects. Some of these sects have only a few people while some have tens of thousands of people. It's impossible to count them in detail. It's also because these sects constantly provide excellent martial artists for the various empires that the cultivation world of the celestial pole continent can continue to prosper and even be protected by the immortal realm." "Protected by the immortal realm?" Lin Muyu frowned. "What does that mean?" Lu Bai smiled. "I'm not very clear about these supernatural things, although I can see through the mysteries of heaven and know about yin and yang." "Stop bragging. It's too serious." Cough cough. Lu Bai could also see that Lin Muyu was not an ordinary person. He smiled and said, "The people of the celestial pole continent have passed down legends from generation to generation. It's said that the immortal realm once sent gods down to the mortal world to teach the people of the continent how to make fire from wood and how to farm, fish, and weave. Then they imparted martial arts to some people with aptitude, allowing humans to establish a foothold in this world filled with ferocious beasts and demonic spirits and become the rulers." "Farm, fish, and weave?" Lin Muyu looked at the clothes of the people around him. Most of them were wearing cloth clothes and a small number of mercenaries were wearing coarse hemp clothes. In terms of weaving skills, the celestial pole continent was far inferior to the Shattered Cauldron realm. He smiled slightly and didn't say much. Lu Bai didn't see any clues and continued to speak eloquently. "Next, let's talk about our Tianji Empire. The Tianji Empire ranks second in terms of territory, but in terms of population, prosperity of commerce, and strength of military force, it is deservedly number 1. His Majesty is wise and mighty and his power is everywhere. Crown Prince Hai has extraordinary cultivation and will be the future leader of the empire. Together with the invincible commander Bai Minghuan, it's enough for the Tianji Empire to stand tall in the northwest of the continent and be called an overlord." "By the way, you just said that there are demonic spirits in the celestial pole continent. What's going on? You actually don't know about demonic spirits?" Lu Bai turned pale with fright and said, "I really don't know what your master taught you. If a cultivator doesn't hunt demonic spirits, how can he prove his strength?" "What exactly is a demonic spirit?" Lin Muyu asked a little awkwardly. Lu Bai stroked his beard and said, "The essence of a demonic spirit is a kind of monster. A demonic spirit with high cultivation can change into a human form and take human lives. There are many demonic spirits in the celestial pole continent, and they are also the targets of various forces. However, demonic spirits are too strong and many times the cultivators are hunted down instead. In short, when you meet a demonic spirit you must be careful." As he spoke, Lu Bai's eyes shone brightly and he said, "Demonic spirits are divided into 10 grades, from the lowest grade of 10th to the strongest grade of 1st grade. The first grade is called the Demon Emperor, the second grade is called the Demon King, and the third grade is called the Demon Venerable. Little brother, if you meet one of the first 3 grades of demonic spirit, no matter how profound your cultivation is, listen to me and run for your life. If you're lucky you can marry a wife and have children. Otherwise, I'm afraid you'll die without a burial place." "Why will I die without a burial place?" Lu Bai smiled. "It's very simple. Low-grade demonic spirits like to devour human flesh and blood, completely devouring the human. High-grade demonic spirits are even more cruel. They know how to refine and absorb the essence from the human body. In the end you will be turned into ashes. It is said that the souls of those who are eaten by the Demon Emperor and Demon King will be eaten as well." Lin Muyu was stunned and didn't say anything. Lu Bai thought that he was afraid and smiled. "However, little brother, you don't have to worry. Demonic spirits like to live in remote places. Generally speaking, a city like the one we are in right now has a population of over 100,000. Most of the time, demonic spirits won't come here. If there are too many people, the demonic spirits will also feel afraid. Besides, every province in the empire has Lord Dragon Rider patrolling. If a demonic spirit appears in a city with a population of over 100,000, it will be hunted down. We just have to focus on farming, fishing and hunting." Dragon Rider. Lin Muyu was slightly stunned. Her mind recalled the huge dragon on the warship she saw on the sea surface. "That's right." Lu Bai chuckled and said, "They are known as the most powerful army in the celestial pole continent, the Dragon Riders. Every empire has trained a sufficient number of Dragon Riders to deal with the upcoming war. The Tianji Empire's Dragon Rider Legion is very prosperous. During peaceful times, their main mission is to hunt demonic spirits everywhere. Although I have never seen a Dragon Rider, the prestige of the Dragon Riders is known by everyone in the celestial pole continent." As he spoke, Lu Bai looked at Lin Muyu as if he was looking at a freak and said, "You are really strange. You don't even know about the Dragon Rider Legion. I really don't know how you grew up." Lin Muyu smiled. She felt that she had more or less understood everything, so she took out a Jinxing coin from her pocket. She gently rubbed it between her palms, and the Jinxing coin immediately turned into a piece of gold. She tossed it to Lu Bai and said, "Here, thank you for telling me so much. I don't have anything to thank you for." "Oh, I mean gold, take it as a token of appreciation." "Gold." Lu Bai's eyes instantly lit up. He put it in his mouth and took a bite. He was ecstatic. "It really is gold. Little brother, you are indeed not an ordinary person." "Ah, thank you so much." Just as Lin Muyu stood up and was about to leave, an invisible force suddenly descended from the sky. The entire tavern immediately fell silent. Everyone was already unable to move. A cold voice came from outside. "The Tianji Dragon Rider Legion is here on a spirit hunting mission. Those unrelated to this matter, scram immediately." Demonic spirit. Lin Muyu's heart skipped a beat. However, Lu Bai's face was already pale. "It's over. We encountered a demonic spirit. The God Cultivation domain will start charging fees again in October. I hope everyone can make a VIP subscription to support Yi Z." Chapter 725. On the stage of the tavern, the blue-clothed dancer suddenly stopped dancing. Her beautiful face turned sinister. Her skin suddenly split open from her head, revealing new skin filled with scales in front of everyone's eyes. This caused the guests who had fantasies about her to be frightened out of their wits. This beautiful dancer is actually a high-rank demon spirit. The demon spirit's body grew larger and larger, expanding to a height of 2 meters. Its upper body had 4 arms filled with sharp claws, and its legs turned into countless feelers to support its body. Its face was extremely ugly and full of scabs like a toad. It looked very scary. Xiao. With a wave of its arm, a few heads flew. Demon spirits never asked for a reason when killing. Heavens, it's a demon venerable. So scary, it's a demon venerable. Someone exclaimed exaggeratedly. Instantly, Lu Bai was so scared that he almost peed his pants. Just at this moment, a huge force descended from the sky. Bang! Its sword chi. This tyrannical sword chi split the tavern apart and fell straight towards the demon spirit's head. What? The demon spirit let out a shriek. A blood-red shield appeared above its head and actually blocked the sword chi. The over 10-meter-long sword chi nearly split the tavern into two. The guests who couldn't dodge in time were directly hit by the sword chi. Under the powerful airflow, their bodies turned into a mist of blood. It was a tragic sight to behold. In the sky, a bright moon illuminated the earth. A huge creature spread its wings and flew tens of meters in the sky. On the back of the dragon sat a person wearing a python armor. The sharp sword in his hand was emitting a cold light under the moonlight. That sword strike just now was given by him. It's just that. The Dragon Knight didn't seem to care about the lives of the commoners in the process of hunting demon spirits. Lin Muyu involuntarily grabbed onto Lu Bai's collar and threw him behind her. She used her body to protect this scammer. At the same time, she restrained her power and used the Spirit Meridian technique to seal the overflowing sovereign god's power. This way, others wouldn't be able to sense his power. After all, the purpose of Lin Muyu's trip was to understand the Heavenly Pole continent and not to attract the attention of the experts of the Heavenly Pole continent. In the sky, the sound of the huge dragon flapping its wings was very intense. Behind the Dragon Knight, a few huge black shadows appeared. It seemed that in order to deal with this demon venerable, they had sent out more than one Dragon Knight. It's the Heavenly Jade Dragon Riders. He's a Dragon Rider General. Someone yelled. Dragon Riders were the minor leaders of a Dragon Rider army. Every Dragon Rider could command 10 Dragon Riders at most, but there were only a little more than 200 Dragon Riders in the entire Tianji Empire, so the noble status of a Dragon Rider was obvious. Lu Bai's entire body trembled, but his eyes were fixed on the Dragon Rider General in the air. He said, This Lord Dragon Rider General is actually a sacred martial king. I've seen a sacred martial king. How did you know it was the Saint Martial King? Lin Muyu was also affected by the aftermath of the sword chi. He could feel that the Dragon Rider General's sword had 37 stacks of power, which meant that he had the cultivation of 37 heavenly grottos, the first level of the God King realm. Didn't you see? He's wearing 4 golden emblems on his chest. The 3 empires will bestow emblems to the experts in their territories. 5 gold stars is the Saint Martial God, 4 gold stars is the Saint Martial King, and 3 gold stars is the Saint Martial Venerable. He has 4, so he's naturally the Saint Martial King. Lin Muyu couldn't help but sigh inwardly. His luck was really good. It was his first time coming to the Celestial Pole continent, and he actually encountered such a good show. Watching a Saint Martial King duel with a demon venerable. Interesting. In the sky, the Saint Martial King who was riding on the dragon's back said coldly, Dragon Rider General Su Chuan has led the 11th squad of the Heavenly Jade Dragon Riders here to hunt demon spirits. Unrelated people leave immediately. Otherwise, if you're accidentally injured, the Heavenly Jade Dragon Riders will have nothing to do with it. In the tavern, the diners were desperately trying to escape. However, the door of the tavern had already collapsed, so they could only jump out of the window. Lu Bai was also anxious. He looked behind him and saw a wall. The nearest window was only 3 steps away from the demon venerable. He believed that the demon venerable wouldn't let him leave. What should I do? What should I do? We have to leave too. Lin Muyu didn't say anything. He turned around and punched the wall. With a boom, a hole appeared in the wall. He grabbed onto Lu Bai's collar and flew out, bringing him to hide in the fodder warehouse at the back of the tavern. The pile of fodder was used to feed the horses of the diners. The horse feeder had long escaped, leaving behind an empty fodder warehouse. Hide well. Lin Muyu raised his hand and threw Lu Bai into the pile of fodder. He then leaped up and sat on a bare wall, leaning against the pile of fodder to watch the show. This, little brother, aren't you afraid of death? Lu Bai poked his head out and asked. Just hide well. Don't worry about me. Look at you, Lu Bai muttered. In his eyes, what Lin Muyu was doing now was simply courting death. However, Lin Muyu's heart was as clear as a mirror. The strength of the demon venerable was equivalent to that of a 15,000-year-old spiritual beast. He could kill her within 5 moves. As for the dragon rider in the air, although he was one of the sacred martial kings of the Tianji Empire, to be honest, the strength of his godhead was too weak. It could only be classified as a mortal's godhead. Although Lin Muyu was only at the 21st layer of paradise, if it was a one-on-one fight, even if he couldn't win, he wouldn't be defeated. However, this dragon rider had brought 10 dragon riders with him. Therefore Lin Muyu restrained his aura and just acted as a spectator. It was better not to intervene in this dispute if possible. Roar! The demon venerable roared into the sky. Waves of red air rippled out. It was actually a kind of domain, crushing down in all directions. The tavern diners who didn't have time to escape exploded one after another. The scene was too horrible to look at. Demon spirits were indeed not good things. Their speed of killing was even faster than that of the dragon rider. Lin Muyu watched silently, but she felt a little happy in her heart. In the celestial pole continent, the dragon rider was like the demon spirit. In their eyes, the lives of mortals were like grass and ants. However, it was different in the Shattered Cauldron world. A human life was a human life. At least according to the law of the Qin Empire, killing people required paying with one's life. Those who won the hearts of the people would win the world. It seemed that this was the strongest force that the Shattered Cauldron world could contend with. Roar! The sovereign demon's body grew larger and it suddenly soared into the sky, clashing with the dragon knight. Sword light and blood light intertwined, and the sovereign demon's accumulated power shot out again and again. However, the dragon knight seemed to have become one with the dragon, and it was actually able to remain unmoving in the air. Every time the sovereign demon attacked, it would either be slashed or blocked. The other 10 dragon riders were actually indifferent. They spread out and formed a huge circle around the dragon rider. Other than supporting the dragon rider, they didn't do anything. Presumably, these dragon riders had absolute confidence in their captain. Boo! The sword light rose and waves of divine power rushed out. The demon venerable finally spat out a mouthful of blood. His body fell into the tavern. The powerful force hit the surroundings, and the entire tavern immediately turned into ruins. Lin Muyu watched quietly. She could see through the divine power of the dragon rider, but she couldn't see why he could maintain such a harmonious momentum with the giant dragon. It was as if the man and the dragon were just a giant. The demon venerable's attacks were all useless and he was even seriously injured. Very quickly blood splattered everywhere. The demon spirit's entire arm was cut off by the dragon rider's sword. Roar, roar, roar. The deafening roar shook heaven and earth, and the commoners of the small city around the tavern had already fled for their lives like a tide. Only a few youngsters who harbored dreams and wanted to become dragon riders hid in the distance, watching the scene of a dragon rider hunting down a demonic spirit. In the midst of the hoarse roar, the demon venerable was covered in blood. Waves of bloody energy revolved around it. At this moment, a golden light suddenly shot out from its head, turning into layers of golden barriers that surrounded its body. Oh no! A dragon rider wearing silver armor hurriedly said, "Lord Sichuan, this demon spirit is about to evolve. Goddammit, why did it have to evolve now of all times?" Sichuan's expression was fierce. If it wasn't because it knew it was about to evolve, this demon spirit wouldn't have the guts to enter Clear Desolation City. Get out of the way. Even if it evolves, I will still kill it. Otherwise, how would I have the face to go back and see His Majesty? Alright, we'll guard the formation for you. The 10 dragon riders spread out, standing several hundred meters away from the battlefield. One of the dragon riders could even see Lin Muyu on top of the wall. He couldn't help but frown but didn't say anything. If this kid wants to die, then let him die. He can't blame anyone else. Not long after, the golden light surrounding the demon spirit dissipated, and a new arm grew out. Its body became shorter and rounder, but the power within its body increased by a large amount. The demon spirit in front of him was already a 3rd-tier demon king. "Come, you bastard." Sichuan was still riding on the neck of the dragon rider, an excited smile on his face. To be able to kill a demon king is an honor for the Tianji dragon riders, and this honor will also belong to him. Roar. The demon spirit suddenly shot out, filling the sky with bloody light. Bang. Amidst the loud noise, a dazzling golden light blossomed in the sky. This was the result of the collision between the god power and the powerful demon power. As the dragon rider wailed, the dragon rider's mount was injured. Two of the scales on the dragon rider's neck were torn open and fresh blood flowed out. Sichuan wasn't in a good state either. A bloody wound appeared on his arm. The attack of a demon king was indeed extraordinary. However, the demon king seemed to be in an even worse state. A 1-meter-long wound had been cut open on its abdomen and fresh blood was flowing out. During the second attack, the dragon rider soared in the sky, and the dragon rider's sword energy scattered between the heavens and the earth. This battle seemed like it was going to destroy the world. After the 23rd attack, the demon king's internal organs were finally about to spill out. The dragon rider was covered in blood, and the dragon rider's mount was also covered in wounds. "Lord Sichuan, we will help you," a dragon rider shouted. No. Sichuan frowned and said, "This is a demon king. Don't come over. I don't want any dragon rider from the Tianji Empire to die here." "Yes. Die." The roar reverberated in the sky of the small city, followed by the roar of a demon's spirit. Finally, the demon king fell down softly. "Pa!" Sichuan descended from the sky. After landing, he stabbed the demon king's head with his sword, piercing the brain until it spilled out. Then he raised his head in satisfaction and said, "All right, mission accomplished." As he spoke, Sichuan looked at the fodder warehouse at the side. He couldn't help but sneer and said, "Kid, have you seen enough? You have the guts to watch me kill the demon king." "I've been discovered." Chapter 726. It's over. Lu Bai's face was deathly pale. Even though the heavenly jade dragon riders were known as the protectors of the empire in the end, those dragon riders were still lofty existences. Commoners simply did not have the qualifications to come into contact with them. Now that Sichuan had discovered that the rash youngster was peeking at them, the situation might immediately develop in the worst possible direction. Who would have thought that what left Lu Bai surprised was that Lin Muyu was not afraid at all. Instead, she stood on the broken wall and looked straight at Sichuan. Her gaze was completely devoid of fear as she said, "You are a dragon rider?" "I am." "So what?" Sichuan coldly looked at her. "Many thanks for killing this demon for clear desolate city. Otherwise, who knows how many commoners it would have harmed." Lin Muyu's tone was extremely calm. Sichuan seemed to never smile. His face was covered in frost as he said, "This is our duty. Brat, hurry up and leave this place. There might be other demon spirits, but with your strength." He looked at Lin Muyu with contempt. Under his spiritual perception, he could only see that there was a bit of true energy floating within Lin Muyu's body. He couldn't see a star and a half of divine force or king's battle flame. It was clear that this was someone who had only cultivated true energy. As such, he smiled and said, "I'm afraid that you won't even be able to see the demon spirit before you'll be devoured." "Many thanks." Lin Muyu cupped her hands and smiled. She flipped over and left the top of the wall. She grabbed Lu Bai and disappeared into the night without looking back. A dragon rider took out a rope and firmly tied the demon spirit's corpse to the dragon's leg. Then he respectfully said, "Lord Sichuan, that youngster just now, what happened?" "It's nothing." Sichuan nodded. After muttering to himself for a moment, he said, "Although this youngster's cultivation is insignificant, his aura doesn't lose to any sacred martial king. How strange. He doesn't seem to be from the Tianji Empire either. Could it be someone from the Celestial Empire or the Blackstone Empire?" "Ah, my lord, why do you care so much? You said it yourself, he's just an insignificant brat. Maybe he just worships the dragon knights. There are countless young people on the continent who dream of becoming a dragon knight. He's just one of them." Sichuan took another look at Lin Muyu and Lu Bai's silhouettes in the dark, then said, "Let's go back to the imperial capital to report on the completion of the mission, and also to see if the tongue captured by the marshal has confessed anything." "Yes." One after another, the dragons spread their wings and abruptly soared into the sky. The people in the small city all looked up, looking at the miraculous existence that they would never be able to see in their lives. Dragon riders were the most respected existence and symbol of power in the entire celestial pole continent. Just the training of a dragon rider would cost more than 100,000 gold coins every year. Including the food and maintenance of the dragons, if one wanted to raise a dragon rider, it would cost nearly 300,000 gold coins every year. This amount of money was enough to cover half a year's worth of taxes in Clear Desolation City. "Young hero, you're too bold. You actually dare to speak to the Lord Dragon Rider like that." Do you know that the Lord Dragon Rider can blow you apart with a single breath? Even a single fart can kill you. You're too rash. In the night, Lu Bai continued to talk. Lin Muyu frowned. The scene of Su Chuan killing the demon spirit was still playing in her mind. Man and dragon could reach the realm of becoming one. Every time Su Chuan waved his sword, the dragon would change its flying direction and trajectory, increasing the power of its master's attack by a lot. Furthermore, it was perfectly dodging attacks. Could it be that the people of the celestial pole continent also practiced beast-taming techniques? It seemed that this was the only explanation. Furthermore, this was a beast-taming technique that was even more refined than the spiritual communication technique. His brows furrowed even tighter. These dragon riders were known as the pride of the celestial pole continent. In the future, they would definitely be a huge problem for the Shattered Cauldron realm. Furthermore, from Su Chuan's attitude, the dragon riders of the celestial pole continent were arrogant and did not care about others at all. If they were to find out that there was another world on the other side of the continent, the consequences would be obvious. The dragon riders that filled the sky would engulf the entire Shattered Cauldron realm like a plague. And what did the Shattered Cauldron realm rely on? The only few gods or the Longdan army camp and the magic crystal cannons. When he thought of this, Lin Muyu could not help but feel a chill in his heart. Hey kid, what are you thinking about? Why are you ignoring me? Don't you know that this is impolite? Lu Bai carefully walked along the rocky mountain path in the forest. This clear, desolate city was connected to the mountain range. In fact, it could not be considered a city anymore. It could only be considered a town nestled in the embrace of the mountain range. Only then did Lin Muyu turn around and smile guiltily. Sorry, Bai. I was thinking about something just now. What were you thinking about? Nothing. You clearly don't want to say it, yet you're still making excuses like this. I'm not making excuses. I just don't want to say it. Tui. You bastard, I'm about to die from anger. A faint golden luster flashed past Lin Muyu's eyes. He looked at the mountain path in front of him and said, Bai, what do these dragon riders usually do? What do they do? Lu Bai smiled. You've asked the right person. Although I'm only in clear desolate city, there's nothing I don't know about. The Tianji dragon riders are under the direct command of His Majesty the Sacred Emperor. Normally they will split up and patrol the various cities, carrying out missions to hunt demonic spirits. When there is war, these dragon riders will rush to the battlefield. When there is a local unrest, the dragon riders will also participate in the war. 7 years ago there was an upheaval in the northern province. The empire mobilized over 70% of the Tianji dragon riders to quell the rebellion. It was truly a reign of terror. Some people say that in a single night, these dragon riders slaughtered nearly 300,000 soldiers and civilians who participated in the rebellion. Lu Bai seemed to be able to see that tragic war. He clicked his tongue and said, To the people, the dragon riders are the gods of war that the heavens have bestowed upon the human world. To the emperor, the dragon riders are just a tool to rule. Our country's Tianji dragon riders, as well as the neighboring countries' Tianjue dragon riders and Blackstone dragon riders, are all the same. Otherwise, the three great empires wouldn't have been able to rule the celestial pole continent for so long. Lin Muyu nodded, then asked, Bai, as a commoner, what do you think of these sacred martial gods, sacred martial kings and sacred martial sovereigns? Do you revere them or do you want to stand shoulder to shoulder with them? Stand shoulder to shoulder? Stop joking. Lu Bai couldn't help but laugh. Those people aren't mortals. They're all gods. It's said that some sacred martial gods have even lived in the god realm. It's just that the spiritual qi in the celestial pole continent is very abundant, so they're willing to enter the world to cultivate. Young hero, why are you asking this? If you ask so many more questions, I'll have to charge you extra. There's going to be extra charges. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. Bai, you're just too greedy. Humans die in pursuit of wealth, just as birds die in pursuit of food. You better not ask me any more questions. I've already answered a lot. Alright, I won't ask any more. That's right, there are a lot of demonic spirits. Do they appear frequently? How could that be? Basically, encountering a demonic spirit is as unlucky as stepping on dog shit. Do you think you can encounter one just because you want to? Lu Bai smacked his lips. You're really bad, tricking me into answering your questions again. This time, no matter what, you'll have to pay more for the questioning. Young hero, you're really too gutsy. As he spoke, Lu Bai suddenly trembled all over and he stood where he was. His eyes stared straight into the distance as if his soul had been hooked. His face instantly turned deathly pale. "What's wrong?" Lin Muyu asked. Lu Bai extended his hand and pointed in front of him. *T. Under the moonlight on the mountain path, a demon with a crooked body and barbs all over its body crawled on top of a huge rock. A pair of blood-red eyes stared fixedly at Lin Muyu and Lu Bai. That was the gaze of someone staring at their prey. It slowly opened its mouth and unexpectedly, its mouth was also filled with barbs. If they were to be bitten by it, a large piece of meat would probably be destroyed. Demonic spirit," Lu Bai said with a trembling voice. "We really stepped on dog shit." "Is that so?" Lin Muyu acted as if nothing had happened. His spiritual pulse technique had already sensed the existence of this demonic spirit a few minutes ago. It's just that the strength of this demonic spirit was too weak, so he didn't think much of it. He asked, "Then what class is this demonic spirit?" Lu Bai stared at the neck of the demonic spirit and muttered to himself, "Blue, green, white, gray, red. A total of 5 colors. It's a class 5 demonic spirit. Oh my god, it's over. If it was a class 8 or a class 9 demonic spirit, I might be able to survive if I ran faster than you. It's over this time, class 5? Can't you see the color of its neck?" Demonic spirits are also cultivated to increase their cultivation. The higher the cultivation, the more uniform the spiritual energy will be. A real demon emperor's neck only has one color. As he spoke, Lu Bai's body trembled. He grabbed onto Lin Muyu's wrist and said with a trembling voice, "Young hero, don't run. Don't turn around. It's useless to run after encountering a demonic spirit. Even the weakest class 9 demonic spirit can easily catch up to humans. I don't intend to run. Don't grab me. Men shouldn't touch each other. Pay." Lu Bai's face alternated between white and yellow as he said, "It's over. I never thought that a dignified god-rank physiognomist like me would actually die here. In the end, I didn't even get a girlfriend. My life is really not worth it." Jejia. The demonic spirit stuck out its tongue and laughed cruelly as if it was mocking Lu Bai. Lu Bai didn't move. This time he really didn't dare to move. If he were to act blindly without thinking, it might speed up his death. Right now he could only wait for a quick death. He only hoped that this demonic spirit would eat him slowly and let him live a little longer. However, at the side, Lin Muyu rolled up her sleeves, revealing a pair of strong arms. "Young hero, what do you want?" Lu Bai asked. "Fight with my life. Don't tell me you're just going to sit and wait to be someone's midnight snack?" Lu Bai's eyes lit up. "Oh right. I forgot that you're someone who followed Master to cultivate in the mountains. I thought you were a weak chicken waiting to be slaughtered. Damn you." As Lin Muyu spoke, her figure flashed and went straight for the class 5 demonic spirit in front of her. "It's the national day. You went home to accompany his parents. Therefore there will be no updates on the 30th to the 5th. I hope that everyone can understand. After all, life is far more important than the internet." Chapter 727. Hiss. All the spikes on the demon spirit's body stood up like an inflated porcupine. This demon spirit's cultivation was much higher than Lu Bai's. When Lin Muyu made her move, she had already sensed the sudden burst of power within this young man's body. It had simply reached an extremely frightening realm, an extremely frightening realm. The demon spirit's body started to burn, and its strength quickly rose to its peak. It waved its sharp claws and charged towards Lin Muyu. Was it trying to fight with its life on the line? However, how could Lin Muyu give it such a chance? In the 5 elements, water can subdue fire. As her body moved, she raised her fist and streams of law of ice quickly gathered. Her fist instantly became the center of a spinning force field, and she punched towards the demon spirit's abdomen. Divine energy flashed, and the 5th class demon spirit flew out like a ball sealed in ice, heavily falling into the grass. There was no longer any signs of life. It was killed by Lin Muyu with just one punch. It can't be, right? Lu Bai's jaw almost dropped to the ground. This is too exaggerated. Who the hell is this kid? He killed a 5th class demon spirit with a single punch. What kind of terrifying thing is this? Even those sacred warriors or sacred martial venerables within the empire's borders can't do such a thing, right? Both fists lightly bumped and ice shards fell to the ground. Lin Muyu happily said, Done. How is this possible? Lu Bai carefully came to the side of the demon spirit and said, "Young hero, did you really kill this demon spirit? It couldn't have suddenly died, right?" Lin Muyu glanced at him and walked forward. He opened his palm and pressed it on a huge rock that was as tall as two people. Divine energy circulated, and with a shout, the huge rock slowly split into pieces. He clapped his hands and said as if nothing had happened, "How is it? Do you still need proof? Who is your master? He's so powerful." Lu Bai's face was extremely pale, and he was even more afraid than when he encountered a demon spirit. "If I tell you my master's name, you'll probably be scared to death. Tell me, who is it? My master's martial arts are astonishing, and she's proficient in the pulse-severing battle technique. Her name is Shuiro and people call her Little Demon. He's also a peerless beauty. Commoner, let me ask you, are you afraid?" Lin Muyu remembered that there was a very powerful girl in the game she used to play, so she made up a story. Lu Bai was overwhelmed with shock. 10,000 thoughts flashed through his mind. This Shuiro must be an old monster with an extremely high cultivation who was tens of thousands of years old. Just the thought of her wrinkled face was enough to scare someone to death. "Young hero, what's your name? Just call me Young Hero. Don't ask for my name." Lin Muyu took out a handful of Jinyin coins and crushed them into gold nuggets. "Lini, this is your allowance." "So much gold. Young swordsman, what are you doing?" Lu Bai's eyes lit up. Lin Muyu said, "For the next period of time, you'll travel around this celestial pole continent with me and be my guide. I won't treat you badly and I'll protect you." How could there be such a good thing in the world? Lu Bai nodded happily. "Hehe. Speaking of which, I'm very familiar with this continent. Alright, where do you want to travel to? Let's go to the Tianji Empire's imperial capital, Tianji City first. Then we'll go to the Celestial Empire and the Blackstone Empire. I want to travel around this celestial pole continent." Lin Muyu clenched her fists. Only by knowing yourself and your enemy could you win 100 battles. If she knew nothing about the celestial pole continent, the Shattered Cauldron realm was destined to suffer a great loss. After all, the disparity in strength was too great. The reason why she wanted Lu Bai to be her guide was very simple. There were too many immortal-level experts in the celestial pole continent. Any sacred martial god might be able to kill her. Therefore, it was best to keep a low profile and act cautiously. Lin Muyu didn't plan to defeat such a strong opponent in the celestial pole continent purely by force. She could only rely on intelligence. "Hey, I'll do as you say. Don't talk so much. Go buy 2 fast horses first and find an inn to rest at night. We'll set off tomorrow and travel all the way to Tianji City." His young hero. Lu Bai bowed and weighed the gold nugget in his hand. It weighed at least half a kilogram. If he were to exchange so much gold at a gold shop, he would be able to exchange it for at least 20 small gold coins of the Tianji Empire. He would be making a fortune. At night, in an inn in Qinghuang City, Lin Muyu opened a small window and looked at the faint moonlight outside the window with her arms as a pillow. It had been a few days since she left the empire. She could be considered to have a slight understanding of the celestial pole continent. However, the more she knew about the celestial pole continent, the more worried she was about the Qin Empire in the Shattered Cauldron realm. The empire's current strength was definitely not a match for the celestial pole continent. In fact, it couldn't even defeat the Tianji Empire. He licked his somewhat dry lips and slowly released his spiritual perception. A strand of psyche power traversed through space and headed straight for the Shattered Cauldron realm. He had to warn the people of the Shattered Cauldron realm to act cautiously. In Tongtian Gorge, next to the central military tent of the Longdan army camp, in Tang Xiaoxi's tent, the candlelight swayed gently. Tang Xiaoxi, who was sitting by the bed and cultivating, suddenly felt a jolt in her heart. A familiar psyche power had awakened her. Closing her eyes, Tang Xiaoxi could immediately see Lin Muyu's appearance. She couldn't help but ask, "Mu, you've been in the celestial pole continent for so many days. How is it going?" "I'm fine. Don't worry, Xiaoxi." Lin Muyu chuckled. "You're still talking about it? I miss you so much." "I miss you too, but I have something more important to tell you now. It's about everything about the celestial pole continent." "And tell me." Thus, Lin Muyu told Tang Xiaoxi everything she knew. Hearing that, Tang Xiaoxi's beautiful face turned pale. Originally, she only thought that the celestial pole continent in the east was stronger, But now she knew that this celestial pole continent was ridiculously strong. Tang Xiaoxi frowned slightly and said worriedly, "Then what should we do? What else can we do? Counter soldiers with arms and water with an earth weir." Lin Muyu said, "You have to use the fastest speed to send a letter to Big Brother Feng and Ayan. Inform the entire Lingnan and Lanyan city and all the major provinces to transfer elite troops to the 4 provinces facing the sea to set up defenses. In addition, let the empire's shipyards build warships with all their might. If the 3 empires invade our borders, we have to stop them at the east of the coast. My psyche power to send a message consumes too much energy and the distance is too far, so I'll have to rely on you." "Don't worry," Tang Xiaoxi said obediently. "My psyche power is enough to send a message to Feng Jixing, and then let Feng Jixing send a message to Qin Yan. And don't make it public first. All the military deployments and movements must be carried out in secret. We can't be in a mess before the war starts in the celestial pole continent, understand?" "I understand. Don't worry, Mu. Also, you're in the celestial pole continent. There are so many Saint Martial gods and Saint Martial kings, and every one of them can defeat you. You have to be careful. Once Wei Chao's battle with the demon race at the Tongtian Gorge ends, I'll immediately go to the celestial pole continent to find you. Don't worry, I'll gather information here. You have to guard the empire. Right now, you and Ouyang Yan have the highest cultivation in the empire, so you must guard there and wait for me to return. Then come back early. Don't worry, I'll naturally leave after I understand this place well enough. I also know that this place is very dangerous." Tang Xiaoxi couldn't help but laugh. "You're still in the mood to joke? Alright, maintaining psyche power consumes too much divine power. Quickly retract your psyche power. I'll tell everything to Feng Jixing and Qin Yan in a while." When Lin Muyu's psyche power dispersed, the illusion in front of Tang Xiaoxi immediately dissipated and was replaced by Ouyang Yan's charming face. "It's Lin Muyu's psyche power? What did she say? Some fatal things." Tang Xiaoxi took another look at Ouyang Yan and said, "Ouyang, if we're on the losing side in the future war, will you still serve the Qin Empire?" Ouyang Yan was stunned, then she puffed out her chest and said with a smile, "What kind of person does Princess She think I, Ouyang Yan, am? Since I've decided to serve the Qin Empire, I'll naturally protect it with my life. Moreover, I owe His Highness a life. He gave me a new lease of life. This kindness is worth me, Ouyang Yan, to repay with my life." "There's no need for you to repay kindness." Tang Xiaoxi smiled faintly and said, "However, this continent is indeed plagued with disasters. I originally thought that after the Fiend race and Iha country were destroyed, it would usher in a period of peace and prosperity, but I didn't expect." "Oh right, Ouyang, has Chu returned yet?" "He came back once and went out again. Chu said that he sensed the invasion of power from the east, so he decided to head to the celestial pole continent to take a look. Perhaps he can even meet His Highness you." "How can there be such a coincidence?" Tang Xiaoxi pouted and said, "I'm going to exert my power. Help me guard." "Yes, eldest miss." Tianji City, the most prosperous city in the entire Tianji Empire, and also the capital of the empire. This crowded capital was located in the north of the empire's territory, but it had a thriving population with strong soldiers and horses. Tianji Palace, the center of the entire Tianji City, was also the residence of the Royal North Deep clan. Tianji Palace's luxury was well known throughout the entire celestial pole continent. It was said that the tiles used in Tianji Palace were glazed tiles, and the anti-slip particles on the floor tiles were actually white diamonds. Moreover, the beams of the entire main hall were built with the bones of an ancient divine dragon. It was very strong and had the dragon power to protect the main hall from the impact of power. In the main hall there were many officials. On the throne, a middle-aged expert wearing a dragon robe sat there with his eyes shining. He was Baiming Yuan, an ultimate god. Although an ultimate god was not rare in the Tianji Empire, it was not easy for an emperor to become an ultimate god. Baiming Yuan had been on the throne for many years and kept a low profile. It was also because of his existence that the other 2 empires did not dare to covet the territory of the Tianji Empire. The officials and generals were divided into 2 sides. The one in front of the generals was about 40 years old with 5 golden badges on his chest armor, indicating his strength level, martial saint. Baiming Huan, Baiming Yuan's younger brother, was the empire's marshal and a martial saint. He was second to none in the empire. His scarlet palm technique could be said to be invincible in the world. Your Majesty. Bai Minghuan said respectfully, Dragon Rider Sichuan is back. He has hunted a Demon King-level demon spirit. All right, summon him. Yes. Chapter 728. Dong dong dong. Sichuan walked into the palace with his head held high. In terms of status and experience, he was one of the few in the Tianji Empire. There were a total of 5 sacred martial kings in the Tianji Empire, and 2 of them served the empire. One was Bai Minghuan, and the other was General Zhang Qing. The other 3 sacred martial kings cultivated in the Tianji sect and were not under the empire's control. Next were the 11 sacred martial kings, and most of them cultivated in the Tianji sect. There were only 4 sacred martial kings in the empire, and Sichuan was one of them. Thank you for your hard work, Dragon Rider Sichuan. Bai Mingyuan held onto the golden lion head on the throne. His face had a gratified expression as he smiled and said, Did you bring the corpse of that Demon King-level demon spirit? Yes. Sichuan turned his head, grabbed the demon spirit's corpse from the hands of his subordinates and threw it on the red carpet. He smiled and said, In order to kill this Demon King, my dragon mount suffered quite a bit of injury. Really suffered. Bai Ming-Abyss laughed heartily, You've worked hard. Men, come and heavily reward Sir Dragon Rider Sichuan. Bestow him with 500 caddies of gold and 500 caddies of silver. In addition, bestow him with the title of a second-class lord and 500 hectares of land. Thank you, Your Majesty. Sichuan bowed. Although the Tianji Dragon Riders were directly under Bai Ming-Abyss's command, they were not part of the empire's military. Instead, they were a group of independent people. That was why Sichuan's rank was only that of a dragon rider, and he did not hold any position within the empire. As for titles like lord, and so on, those were just empty titles. What Sichuan cared about was the gold, silver and jewels that Bai Ming-Abyss gave him. Even though he was a Saint Martial King, he still needed to live a luxurious life after entering the secular world to cultivate. Sichuan owned a luxurious mansion that was worth 10 million gold coins in Tianji City. There were 500 guards and over 30 beauties in the mansion. If he didn't have these gold and silver rewards, it would probably be difficult for him to continue living such an immortal-like life. Sichuan knelt on one knee and said, Your Majesty, did the tongue we caught a few days ago confess anything? Yes. Bai Minghuan said, Bai Minghuan, tell me. Yes. Bai Minghuan nodded respectfully. Dragon Rider Sichuan, soon the empire will face a new war, and our opponent will be a continent on the other side of the ocean. That tongue seemed to have confessed everything. A month ago, the great battle in the divine realm officially ended. Lord Xian Blazing Angel accidentally damaged the Wall of Order during the intense battle with the gods of the eastern celestial heavens, causing the spiritual mountains of the 2 planes to collide and merge with each other. This caused the wall between our plane's plane and the Shattered Cauldron Realm's plane to officially disappear. Now that the 2 continents have completely merged, a new war is about to arrive. Sichuan was dazed. Shattered Cauldron Realm? What kind of continent is that? Bai Minghuan smiled and said, Don't worry, the Broken Cauldron world is still in the embryonic stage and its power is far inferior to ours. The most powerful god in the Broken Cauldron world is only a god king who is in the 30th heavenly abode, and their weapons and horses are all far inferior to ours. But the Broken Cauldron world is fertile, and the population is thriving. The spirit beasts in the forest are also quite famous, and their spirit cores can be used for our cultivation. So, as long as we take the Broken Cauldron world as our own, the Tianji Empire will definitely be able to develop in 100 years, and then destroy the Heaven Ju Empire and the Dark Stone Empire, and unify the whole world. When do we leave? Sichuan was a bit excited. We have to act before the Celestial Empire and the Blackstone Empire find out. We can't let others get this fat meat first. Hey, don't be in such a hurry. Bai Minghuan waved his hand and smiled. Recently, I have been deploying troops at the border. We have to stabilize the border first before we can send some troops to conquer Shattered Cauldron Realm. In addition, I have also sent envoys to the 2 empires to ask for an alliance. Only with an alliance can we focus on attacking Shattered Cauldron Realm. Yes, I will listen to Marshall's orders. That's good, huh? Shattered Cauldron Realm will be ours sooner or later, no need to rush. Yes. The night was indescribably cold. The night of the exile land was full of slaughter, and one could even hear miserable cries from afar. No one knew which unlucky soul had died under a sharp blade. Rustle, rustle, rustle. The girl was kneeling in the grass with bare feet. There was a kind of black crawling bug in this patch of grass. Although this bug didn't bite, it was very disgusting when it moved. This demon spirit girl's arms and hair were almost covered with these bugs, but she didn't move at all, like a withered leaf hidden in the grass. She had been waiting here for a whole day, but the hunter from hell still hadn't appeared. She clearly remembered the battle 2 days ago. That hunter in black armor had almost cut off his own arm with a single sword strike. Moreover, this dark hunter's movements were getting more and more frequent. All signs showed that he was eager to rule this area, and didn't want to let any of his opponents live. Never be bullied by others. These were her father's words. Although her father had died a long time ago, the young girl still remembered these words. These words were the law of her life in the banished lands. If anyone wanted to kill her, she must kill them first. Rustle. A strange sound came. It didn't sound like the sound of a pine insect crawling over the grass, but was completely different. It was the sound of boots stepping on the wet grass. It had rained half a day ago and the ground was still wet. The girl didn't move, but her pair of beautiful eyes quietly looked into the distance. With the sound of footsteps, he had arrived. The black soft armor was decorated with resplendent diamonds, blinding people's eyes. The black helmet looked so exquisite. A steel sword hung from his waist and his palm was pressed on the sword hilt. He looked around with a sharp gaze, searching for his opponent. The cold night wind blew, making the long hair behind his helmet and trench coat flutter. He had always been like this, pursuing the pinnacle of handsomeness, a man like the wind. Come out. He suddenly stopped, and his gaze was like a sword as he looked at the grass in front of him. Silence. He seemed to be a little impatient. He raised his hand and a ball of fire appeared. He shouted in a low voice, "Come out. Do you want me to personally invite you out? You're courting death." Whoosh. The flames swallowed the entire field of wild grass and suddenly there was a roar. It was a ferocious tiger from the exile land, the horned tiger. It was a fierce tiger with a sharp horn on its head, and it was at the top of the food chain in the exile land. There weren't many people who dared to provoke the horned tiger, and this man in front of him was one of them. "Bastard, how dare you ambush me? You're courting death." He attacked. His fist was wrapped in flames, and he smashed it heavily on the horned tiger's abdomen from a strange angle. However, a tyrannical rebounding force attacked him. The horned tiger's skin was covered with stellar energy, and just as he was about to fall, the horned tiger flipped its sharp claws and swept them horizontally. A few bloody wounds immediately appeared on his shoulder. Damn it. He took the opportunity to pull out his sword. The blade was wrapped in a ball of fire, a ball of golden light. This was a cultivator of the law of fire and light. The temperature and light of the spewing flames converged. He launched a fierce attack and his whole body melted into the sword light. Blood splattered in the wind. When he pulled out his sword, the horned tiger could no longer resist. The messy sword wounds and holes on its body proved that the horned tiger was defeated. Roar. Amidst the miserable howl, the steel sword pierced straight into the horned tiger's mouth, and came out through its brain, carrying with it a strong smell of blood. Humph. He raised his palm and licked clean the tiger blood that had splattered on his palm. Filthy trash. But at this moment, a shadow passed by him as silent as the wind. Rip. The sound was very light. It was a sharp knife shining with a frightening cold light. After the knife light, a thin wound spread out from his neck. With a pu sound, it completely bloomed like a beautiful flower. Blood spurted out from his neck. He stood there dumbfounded, the sword in his hand still stabbed into the horned tiger's head. He raised his head looking at the stars in the sky. His hair and cloak fluttered in the wind. A man like the wind. Bang. After heavily falling to the ground, he died in humiliation. The sword in his hand was pulled out from the horned tiger's mouth. It was covered in blood, but under the moonlight, it shone with a demonic luster, as if it was responding to the light in the sky. The demon spirit girl slowly walked over with the bloody knife. Looking at her opponent's corpse, her face was emotionless. She didn't even feel the joy of victory. She only felt that everything was as it should be. Bending down, she picked up her opponent's sword. The moment the blade touched her hand, she suddenly froze. A vigorous and overbearing power seemed to be resonating with the sword in her body. Shwa! The power in her arm flowed into the sword. In the next moment, golden crystals separated from the power and rapidly spun. What is this? She was dumbfounded. She never thought that she would have a connection with a weapon. Moreover, these flying golden crystals were a type of pure energy crystal. But what was it? Who am I? She muttered to herself, but the chilling night wind of the banished lands answered her rampantly. Woo, she couldn't understand. This paragraph was so poetic that even I was moved. Knock, knock, knock. Violent knocks came from outside the inn's door. Open the door, open the door. If you don't open the door, we will break it down. Lin Muyu woke up from his sleep. The divine power that he had used to transmit the message through his telekinesis last night was fully replenished. He floated up and opened the door to his room, only to see 7 to 8 armored soldiers staring at him. One of the soldiers was holding Lu Bai in his hands. The poor Lu Bai was already tied up. What is it? Lin Muyu was so calm that it was exaggerated. What? An officer wearing a 10-man military rank smiled and said, Are you a noble? No. Do you have any friends who are nobles? No. Then do you have money? I am poor. Then congratulations, you have been conscripted by the Imperial Army in the West Mountain Province as a first-class private. Don't say anything. You will naturally understand your status when you reach the military camp. Lin Muyu narrowed her eyes. Damn, they are grabbing a strong man. Chapter 729. Lin Muyu's hands were tied behind her back. Fortunately, she had already put the star's sword into her cosmos bag, and the cosmos bag was hidden in her bosom, so these soldiers of the Tianji Empire did not find it. However, Lu Bai, who was standing beside her, had a bitter look on his face. He muttered in a low voice, Young hero, I don't believe that you will give up without a fight. With your strength, you definitely won't be afraid of these soldiers who bully the weak and fear the strong. What do you know? They have knives in their hands. Lin Muyu snickered. In fact, she just wanted to go to the military camp of the Tianji Empire to see their fighting capacity. As for getting out of here, Lin Muyu could easily do it at any time. On the path in the jungle, there were dozens of people who had been captured as new recruits like Lin Muyu and Lu Bai. They were escorted by nearly 50 soldiers of the Tianji Empire. Lin Muyu looked at the equipment of these soldiers, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Only 10-man sergeants were qualified to wear armor, and their armor was relatively inferior. The armor was rusty and most of them could not withstand the full thrust of the long spear. Ordinary soldiers did not wear armor at all. They only wore dirty cotton military uniforms which made them look like a group of ruffians. In fact, these people were indeed the lowest soldiers in the army. Otherwise, they would not have been sent to do this kind of work. Walking all the way until noon, the group arrived at a place about 20 li north of Qinghuang City. From afar, a military camp built on the side of a mountain could be seen. Lin Muyu could tell with a single glance that this military camp could accommodate about 5,000 people. It was not a small camp, but it was most likely a new recruit camp. From afar they could hear the sounds of new recruits training. Their voices were mixed and they were definitely not veterans who had gone through hundreds of battles. Lu Bai complained incessantly. In a low voice he said, I've had many plans in my life. I've wanted to be an erudite and knowledgeable prophet. I've wanted to be an omniscient fortune teller. I've also wanted to be a noble and have many wives and concubines, but I've never wanted to be a soldier. If a good man wants to be a soldier, what are you afraid of? I'm here. Lin Muyu smiled and comforted him. Lu Bai felt even more uncomfortable. Who was willing to be a soldier these days? Their pay was deducted too much and their lives were in danger at any time. No one was willing to be a soldier. Otherwise, the situation wouldn't have developed to such an exaggerated extent as catching able-bodied men. Stop looking around and go in. An old soldier shouted loudly. He raised his whip and landed it heavily on a young man. The young man looked to be about 15 years old. He grimaced in pain, but he didn't dare to say a word. The dozens of able-bodied men were all brought to a corner of the military camp. After they stood still, the curtain of a tent in the distance was lifted, and a man with 2 silver triangular military insignia on his chest walked out. His face was full of beard and his voice was like muffled thunder exploding. All of you shut up if you don't want to die. Everyone was horrified and didn't dare to speak. The bearded general sneered. He looked at the group of new soldiers in front of him as if he was looking at a group of bugs and said, "You're all a bunch of trash. Do you know how much military rations are needed to feed you into real soldiers? If you want to become soldiers like me who protect His Majesty the Sacred Emperor and the Tianji Empire, you must not fear death or pain. You must become stronger as soon as possible." In the crowd, a thin man immediately knelt down and begged for mercy. "Sir, I'm just a peddler in Qinghuang City. I didn't think of becoming a soldier. I have parents and children to take care of. Please let me go, sir." "You trash." The bearded general suddenly raised his hand, and a fist shadow exploded in the air. With a bang, the peddler vomited blood and fainted. Everyone was immediately scared out of their wits and they were all dumbfounded. Lin Muyu secretly took a breath. This officer didn't wear a general's insignia, and was only a small officer. However, the power of his punch just now was as strong as the third layer of the heaven realm. The celestial pole continent was indeed full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. The overall level of cultivation was more than a level higher than that of the empire. "You have no way out." The bearded general narrowed his eyes at the crowd and said, "You're walking on a single-plank bridge. In front of you are the glorious soldiers of the empire, and behind you is the road to death. Make your own choice. Do you choose to become a tough and strong soldier who has been tempered by wind and rain, or do you choose to be a coward, a piece of trash who will die in humiliation in a cesspool?" Everyone was silent. The general continued, "I know that many of you are unconvinced, but let me tell you this. If it wasn't for the fact that the Empire's army needs people, they wouldn't have captured you at all because you're not qualified." His eyes were filled with a sneer. "I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Chen Dongyang and I belong to the West Mountain Province's army on duty. My military rank is second rank and I lead 1,000 people. From now on you're a member of my 1,000-man army. However, I'll say the ugly words first. If you can't become a soldier, you'll become a dead man. So please do your best. In the afternoon I'll give you weapons and uniforms. I hope you don't disappoint me." Everyone was aghast. Who dared to say another word? Lin Muyu and Lu Bai were arranged to stay in the same tent. It was a very crude tent that was riddled with holes. The ground was covered with weeds and that was the recruit's bed. The 10-man squad leader behind him scolded in a low voice, "Stop looking, pick your own bed and then follow me to get the supplies." Lu Bai looked at Lin Muyu and Lin Muyu signaled him not to do anything. Sooner or later she would bring him away from this place. As expected, the weapons were very crude. Lin Muyu received a long halberd. The tip of the long halberd was almost rusted through, and the blade and the handle were only wrapped with a few pieces of torn cotton cloth. It was hard to imagine what this kind of weapon would be used for on the battlefield. However, the military uniform was new, but it was a little too small, and it looked a little ridiculous on her. After receiving the weapons, the recruit training began in the afternoon. The first training was to cooperate with the team to attack. This surprised Lin Muyu a little. Although the equipment of the Tianji Empire looked crude, the tactical training was very strict and orders were strictly followed. The military training of the instructors was very good. In the evening it was a weight-bearing training. A group of recruits carried their weapons and walked around the mountains. Behind them were instructors riding on horses and waving leather whips. Those who fell behind could not avoid physical pain. Fortunately, with Lin Muyu's help, Lu Bai did not suffer much. At sunset, 500 recruits came to the entrance of the valley. However, they heard a rumbling sound coming from afar. "What's wrong?" Lu Bai stopped and touched his neck. It had been scratched by the handle of the long halberd. Several instructors also stopped involuntarily. On the horizon, the rumbling sound was getting closer and closer. Soon, a group of cavalries appeared on the other side of the valley. It was a group of cavalries riding on wild beasts. Moreover, it was a group of armored tigers. However, these tigers seemed to be different from the ones Lin Muyu had seen before. Their backs were very flat and they were suitable for riding. The cavalrymen on the back of the ferocious tigers were clad in armor. Their helmets shone with a golden radiance under the setting sun. Between the gaps of their helmets, pairs of ruthless gazes swept across the bodies of the new recruits. They didn't stop at all. "What is that?" The recruits were stunned. Not only the recruits but even the instructors looked envious. It was obvious that their status could not be compared with this kind of cavalry's. "Stop looking," one of the instructors said angrily. "It's the tiger leopard cavalry, one of the branches of the Empire's cavalries." Only the children of nobles have the opportunity to enter the cavalries to receive training. However, you guys, as long as you make great contributions on the battlefield, you will also have the same opportunity. Stop being envious. Sco. Yes, sir. The recruits already knew how to talk to their superior officers. After dinner, Lu Bai was so tired that he could barely move. He lay on the meadow motionless as if he was dead. Lin Muyu pushed his arm. Plain clothes. Let me sleep for a while more. You don't want to go? Lin Muyu asked with a smile. Can we go? Why can't I? Under the moonlight, the two of them left the military camp along a small mountain path. After walking for a short distance, they suddenly heard a rustling sound from the bushes in the distance. Who is it? Lin Muyu shouted in a low voice. Don't be nervous, it's us. A few people who looked like recruits stood up from the bushes. They were also recruits who had trained with them during the day. Seemed like they were also deserters. So they ran together. However, after leaving the camp for less than 2 miles, the sound of hooves came from behind. Torches flickered and a voice shouted in the wind, "All of you stop, you scum." It was the voice of second-rank Tiger Lieutenant Chen Dongyang. Run. No one knew who shouted, but the crowd began to scatter in all directions. The war horses were very fast. In the darkness of the night, there were about 10 cavalrymen galloping towards them. Chen Dongyang held his shining long sword and galloped at the front. He raised his sword and slashed at the back of a deserter. Blood splattered everywhere. The poor recruit was almost cut in half. It's over, this demon. Lu Bai was shocked. You go, I will block him. Run as fast as you can and I will catch up to you. Lin Muyu said in a low voice. Okay. Lu Bai didn't even look back as he ran. Lin Muyu turned around and flew over. A deserter like you dares to turn back and seek death? Chen Dongyang roared. He raised his bloody long sword and slashed at Lin Muyu. The long sword was enshrouded with fighting energy, and it turned into a bolt of lightning. It was extremely fast. However, Lin Muyu was even faster. She flashed past at a speed that the naked eye could not follow, dodging the attack of the long sword. Her fist was imbued with half of her divine power as she punched Chen Dongyang's abdomen. Bang! Golden light burst out and Chen Dongyang spat out a mouthful of blood. He fell off his horse and rolled on the ground like a cannonball. He looked very embarrassed. This bastard, he wants to kill General Chen. A group of cavalries galloped over and threw their spears. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. With a light shake of her arms, a huge invisible wall immediately formed in front of her. Dang dang dang. The spears were all knocked away. She raised her fist and swept out with half of the power of chaos of the lives. Instantly, a strong gust of wind blew and a golden shockwave rippled out, causing a group of riders and their horses to tumble and tumble away. Heavens, this brat is a holy martial venerable. Chen Dongyang wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Stop the attack and retreat. Come and help me, my ribs are all broken. Chapter 730. In the spring of the Xishan province, the birds were singing and the flowers were fragrant. A bonfire was burning and a rabbit was being roasted above it. The aroma of the meat had begun to spread. Lu Bai kept turning the stick and he was sweating profusely. Lin Muyu was lying on the grass with her arms as a pillow. She murmured to herself, Tianji Dragon Cavalry, Beast Cavalry, Tiger Leopard Cavalry. Young hero, what are you doing? Get up and eat. Lin Muyu took a rabbit leg and took a few bites. But she was preoccupied and didn't have the appetite. She asked, Bai, how many beast cavalrymen are there in the Tianji Empire? It's said that there are more than 30,000 beast cavalrymen. I've only heard of them before, but I've finally seen them. Awesome. Awesome. I was scared to death. Lu Bai was speechless. Even Lin Muyu was shocked by the power of the beast cavalrymen, let alone an ordinary person like Lu Bai. More than 30,000? Lin Muyu murmured. She had a new understanding of the military strength of the Tianji Empire. If they really fought, the Qin Empire would be defeated. Hee. In the sky, an eagle was circling. Lin Muyu frowned. What's that? This eagle was a bit strange. Its head didn't look like a bird's but like a wolf's head. It's just a hunting eagle. What's so strange about it? Lu Bai lowered his head and gnawed on the rabbit. He didn't even want to look up. But soon another sound echoed in the air. Hong. Hong. Dragon roar. On the other side of the hill, 2 behemoths flapped their giant wings and appeared in the sky. They were 2 dragon cavalrymen. Suddenly, Lu Bai was so scared that he dropped the rabbit in his hand. He took a few steps back and said, "Oh my god, dragon cavalrymen found us." The 2 of them were still wearing the military uniforms of the Tianji Empire's recruits, which could be seen at a glance. "Bai, go back as far as possible. Don't come over," Lin Muyu said lightly. "Well, be careful." Lu Bai ran away. Roar! One of the 2 dragons was blue and the other red, but their heads were equally ferocious. They stared at Lin Muyu with the eyes of wild beasts. In fact, the dragon race was originally a wild beast, just a beast in the food chain. On the dragon's back, half of the dragon rider's face was covered by a blue helmet, but his gaze was like a sharp sword that made one's heart go cold. In his hands was a spear that had frost swirling around it. "It's you 2 who escaped from West Mountain Province's main camp, right? You 2 deserters escaped from the Xishan Province camp, right?" Lin Muyu didn't deny it. Instead she asked, "How did you find us? That's the only thing I'm curious about." The dragon cavalryman laughed. His teeth were very white. He pointed the dragon's spear at the eagle circling in the sky and said, "Do you see that? That's a wolf falcon, a wolf that can fly. Its sense of smell is more than 10 times that of a wolf's. Even if you 2 fly into the sky or dive into the ground, we can still find you. So now what do you want?" Lin Muyu pulled out the stellar sword from her Qinkuan bag. The sword flashed and the dragon cavalryman was slightly stunned. He could feel the sword's sharpness. However, the shock only lasted for a moment. The dragon cavalryman's confidence wouldn't waver. He squinted his eyes and said, "Nothing much. As a member of the Tianji Dragon Cavalry, I did what I had to do. I just sent you 2 to the Empire's military law office to receive the punishment that deserters deserve. Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't try to resist. Any accidental deaths during the Tianji Dragon Cavalry's mission can be pardoned." "Accidental deaths?" Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. She said, "You're dreaming. You actually want to kill me? Tell me, what are your names?" "I don't want to kill you and I still don't know your names." "Impudent. Arrogant." The 2 dragon riders roared together. However, they were obviously nobles and they still maintained the self-restraint that nobles should have. They lowered their dragon spears and said, "Junior Dragon Cavalryman Li Ku. Second-ranked Dragon Cavalryman Hu Yin. Alright, let's do it." Lin Muyu stood majestically on the grass and looked at the sky indifferently. Li Ku was at the Divine Heaven Realm and Hu Yin was at the Divine Sovereign Realm. What worried Lin Muyu was how much their battle power would increase after becoming one with the dragon. However, what made Lin Muyu excited was that she actually had the chance to fight a dragon cavalryman here. This was too rare of an opportunity and it was also a great chance to understand a dragon cavalryman. Arrogant to the extreme, Li Ku roared angrily and urged the dragon to pounce. He raised his long sword and a fiery light shot into the sky. His attack was indeed extraordinary. Moreover, before the sword energy even landed, a formless aura shrouded everyone, making them feel suffocated. Moreover, the power of this sword actually contained very pure dragon power. Buzz. The golden wall of the gourd appeared in front of Lin Muyu, and with a bang light surged. The dragon scale wall blocked Li Ku's attack. After all, there was a large disparity in strength between the 2. Li Ku and his dragon were blown back by the surging cyclone, and he couldn't help but show a look of surprise on his face. A powerful feeling of shock came from the dragon sword. The opponent's seemingly very simple defensive wall was actually ridiculously strong. How is this possible? Li Ku frowned. Clear Desolation City was just an unremarkable small city in the West Mountain Province. How could there be a strong person who could fight against a dragon cavalryman? This brat didn't look like someone that powerful. He looked more like a pretty boy kept by a rich woman in the city. This was simply too unbelievable. Me. Hu Yin roared and attacked from the other side of Lin Muyu. His dragon spear stabbed down and layers of frost lingered around it. Layers of frost waves instantly formed a tornado that wrapped around Lin Muyu. At the same time, the blue dragon opened its mouth and spat out an ice dragon breath. Rustle, rustle. The surrounding grass was instantly covered in frost, but the frost dragon breath burst forth in the next moment. A perfect gourd wall defense appeared around Lin Muyu's body. The dragon blood battle shield blocked all of Hu Yin's attacks. The battle shield pulsated with the waves of divinity, a total of 15 layers. Immediately Lin Muyu couldn't help but secretly laugh. She already knew what was going to happen. Pa. When the two dragon cavalrymen looked again, Lin Muyu had already disappeared. The cyclone flowed back and the tender grass swayed. Where is she? Hu Yin was shocked and quickly focused his senses. His heart turned cold. Above. In the dazzling sunlight, a figure with rapidly spinning flames flew down. It was Lin Muyu's Chaos of the Lives attack with the astral sword, full power. Hu Yin didn't have time to dodge and could only block with his dragon spear. Bang! A huge golden light exploded and layers of waves covered the sky and covered the earth. The impact caused Hu Yin's perlicue to immediately bleed. The impact of the 21 waves was so strong that Hu Yin almost couldn't even hold his dragon's spear. His body leaned back, and just as he was about to lose his defense from Lin Muyu's attack, the blue dragon suddenly roared. Light blue air currents appeared around its body and stabilized its master's body. What is this? Lin Muyu frowned and didn't say anything. In a flash, she attacked with her sword 4 times in a row. From the second element to the 5th element, the layers of power stacked together. How could Hu Yin block it? With a cry, he spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground with the giant dragon. Bang! The giant dragon howled and fell to the ground, sending soil and grass flying into the sky. Not far away, Lu Bai, who was hiding behind a huge rock and watching from afar, was so shocked that his soul almost left his body. Who is this kid? He actually defeated a dragon knight with just a few simple attacks. Moreover, it was a Saint Martial Venerable level dragon knight. That was a god. Lord Hu Yin, are you okay? Li Ke's face was full of shock. Hu Yin's voice came from the mess. I'm fine. Li Ke, you have to be careful. This person is very strong, very strong. He used the word, very strong, to describe Lin Muyu's strength, but it was clearly not enough. Li Ke held the dragon sword and gritted his teeth. Who are you? A person who travels the world. Lin Muyu casually replied. But you just had to find trouble with me. How about it, Lord Li Ke, do you still want to fight it out with me? You? Li Ke's voice was slightly trembling. Hu Yin was his superior. Li Ke naturally knew how strong this dragon knight was. He had sparred with Hu Yin before and Hu Yin could subdue him within 20 moves. But just now Hu Yin was injured in just 5 moves. How could Li Ke be a match for him? Seeing that Li Ke didn't say anything, Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. She pointed the star's sword at her opponent and said, Then there's no need to fight. Remember, don't follow us anymore. Otherwise I'll kill everyone I see. Li Ke was silent. As a revered dragon knight, he actually lost so miserably. Luckily there wasn't anyone else here. Otherwise he wouldn't know where he could hide his face. Lin Muyu flew with the wind and landed on the ground. Let's go, Bai. Lu Bai was dumbfounded. You were flying just now? Why, is it very strange? No, it's not strange. Although he said that, Lu Bai's eyes were clearly filled with "You're awesome." Lord Hu Yin. Li Ke flipped over and jumped down from the dragon's back. He went to help the heavily injured Hu Yin. Hu Yin's arms were covered in blood. His blood vessels were bleeding from the shock. One could imagine how powerful Lin Muyu's 5 consecutive sword attacks were. Cough, cough. Hu Yin coughed and blood gushed out of his mouth. He lay on the dragon's wings in a sorry state. 21st layer. What 21st layer? This kid is a Saint Martial Venerable at the 21st layer of the Grotto Heaven. Oh my god, Li Ke was shocked. Aren't all the Saint Martial Venerables in the Empire on the list? I've never seen such a person before. He might be an unworldly expert who cultivates in the mountains. Quickly report this to Lord Dragon Knight. MMOK. Chapter 731. The bell rang a total of 24 times. It was silent in Zetian Palace Hall, and all the officials knelt on the ground. This was a way to cherish the memory of Empress Qin Yin. In year 7736 of the Empire calendar, Empress Qin Yin had died in the blood-red abyss. 4 years had passed, but everyone knew that on the day Qin Yin had died, she had just turned 24 years old. Even though the 3 kings were ruling the world now, everyone still believed that Qin Yin would return. This was because she was the legitimate heir of the Qin clan, and she was also the only person in the imperial family who possessed the divine essence. After the bell rang, Shangguan Jingyue, who was wearing the robes of the chief female official, walked forward and extended her hand saying, "Sirs, please rise." Everyone stood up one after another, and when they raised their heads, they saw Qin Yan and Feng Jixing standing side by side in front of the throne. No one sat down. Ever since the three kings had ruled the world, none of them had coveted this throne. Lin Muyu had always believed that she would be able to find Qin Yin. How could Feng Jixing and Qin Yan not believe this as well? His Highness, you has sent news from the other side of the ocean. Feng Jixing's voice was low, but he said very steadily, "There's another continent on the other side of the East Sea. The two planes have completely merged and the world on the other side is called the Celestial Pole. It's ruled by three great empires, namely the Tianji Empire, the Celestial Empire and the Blackstone Empire. The Celestial Pole is a place where martial arts are prevalent, and their strength far surpasses our Shattered Cauldron realm. Now that Duke Wei Weicho is leading the Longdan army camp to defeat the Devil Race at the Heavenly Gorge, the Empire should shift its focus from the Devil Race and Iha country to the opponent on the other side of the ocean." The officials were all astonished. Some of them had heard some rumors and knew that there was another world on the other side of the Eastern Sea region, but most of them knew nothing about the Celestial Pole. An elderly minister took a step forward, holding a jade tablet in his hand as he said respectfully, "Your Highness Prince Exon, this matter can't be confirmed yet. Moreover, even if there's another world on the other side of the ocean, we can send envoys over with gold, silver and jewelry to make friends with them instead of just thinking about attacking them. The Empire has been through wars for a very long time, and its national power is not as strong as before. I hope that the two of you can empathize with the suffering of the common people in the world." Feng Jixing nodded. What Count Yang said is somewhat reasonable, but we must be prepared for both sides. While befriending the Celestial Pole continent, we must also make preparations for war. There's only so much land in this world, and the three great empires of the Celestial Pole continent can't completely ignore the richness of the Shattered Cauldron realm. If we don't make preparations, we'll only become lambs waiting to be slaughtered. Count Yang bowed his head and said, "I only hope that your highnesses will not be overly militaristic and harm my great Qin." Qin Yan was a little displeased. He frowned and said, "We know what we're doing. Count Yang doesn't need to worry too much." Feng Jixing's gaze landed on Zhen Yifan, who was at the front of the ministers, and he said, "Duke Xiong, it's been hard on you to come all the way from the Seven Seas province. However, we still need Duke Xiong to come up with a plan for today's matter. How should the Empire deal with it?" However, Zhen Yifan's dim eyes shone brightly as he said, "Since the Celestial Pole continent is separated from us by the Eastern Sea, we must reorganize our navy, build new warships, and use the strength of the entire country to strengthen the defense of the three eastern provinces, Lingdong, Tongtian and Lingkong. Other than that, we must build the magic crystal cannons with all our might. Heavy cannons will be our greatest chance of victory." Feng Jixing nodded in satisfaction. Qin Yan said, "Where's the Minister of Works?" The Minister of Works' white beard was already fluttering. He took a step forward and cupped his fists respectfully. "This old subject is here. The forging and improvement of the magic crystal cannons are mainly the matter of your weapons department. I hope that you won't slack off. Yes, this old subject understands." At this moment, the Assistant Minister of the Weapons Department behind him said, "Your Highnesses, Lord Qin Xiling has sent us a blueprint from Tongtian province. It's about building a fortress ship." "Fortress ship?" Feng Jixing was stunned. "What kind of ship is that?" "Your Highness, the fortress ship is a new type of warship. Both sides of the warship are protected by thick parapet walls. Small magic crystal cannons can be placed in the cabin, and the parapet walls are wrapped with iron sheets to block the enemy's arrows and ballista attacks. Furthermore, the fortress ship can be divided into multiple levels. Not only is it a fortress of heavy cannons when facing the enemy, it can also be used as a transport ship. A large fortress ship can transport at least 2,000 to 4,000 soldiers of the Empire. Lord Qin Xiling's uncanny workmanship is full of wisdom, and he's an unparalleled genius craftsman. Once this kind of fortress ship is successfully developed, it will definitely become the overlord of naval battles." "Good." Feng Jixing was overjoyed and waved his hand. "Proved. Immediately give the order to start developing and building this kind of fortress ship." "But Your Highness." The Assistant Minister of the Weapons Department nodded without saying a word. A what? It's just that the construction of the fortress ship is exquisite. Among the materials required are all kinds of strange iron and wood that are rare in the Empire. Thus, the construction of the fortress ship will cost a huge amount of money. Just tell me directly. How much does it cost to build a fortress ship? Under Feng Jixing's intense gaze, the assistant minister swallowed his saliva and said, about 300,000 Jin coins is needed to build a large fortress ship. 300,000? Feng Jixing jumped in fright. So expensive. It's practically a fortress made of gold. The assistant minister of the weapons department smiled bitterly. There's nothing we can do about it. According to Lord Qin Xiling's design, the entire fortress ship is about 200 meters long. Thus, the wood used to reinforce the hull must be the extremely tough golden willow wood. This golden willow wood takes 500 years to mature, and it's originally a precious material comparable to gold. If we don't use golden willow wood to reinforce the hull of the fortress, such a large fortress ship will probably fall apart in a storm. I understand. So be it. 300,000 it is. Feng Jixing looked into the distance. The Ministry of Revenue's Minister of Works will be provided by you guys for the Ministry of Works to develop the weapons. The Ministry of Revenue's Minister of Works was a fatty with a small beard on his chin that looked like a goat's beard. His face was filled with a meticulous expression as he said, Your Highness Prince Exon, a fortress ship costs 300,000 Jin coins. In addition to the magic crystal cannons, sailors, equipment and so on, the cost of a fortress ship will be 500,000 Jin coins. There are usually 1,000 fortress ships in the Navy, and the value of 1,000 fortress ships will be 500 million Jin coins. The Empire has already spent 1 billion Jin coins on the steel walls and the magic crystal cannons. The treasury is empty, so where are we going to get the 500 million Jin coins? This old subject really has no other choice. If Your Highness Prince Xian insists on getting this old subject to gather 500 million Jin coins, then this old subject is powerless. Feng Jixing's eyes narrowed and he smiled. Lord Zhang, your son has married a concubine and built a hidden beauty pavilion in the south of the city for her, spending a total of 30 million Jin coins. Someone has reported this to me. I wonder if it's true? If the Ministry of Revenue is really that poor, then I should consider if I should investigate this thoroughly. Where's Xiao Han from the Fire Sparrow Division? Xiao Han stood ramrod straight and said, Here. Pass the order. Xiao Han is to immediately lead the Fire Sparrow Division's troops to the Ministry of Revenue's Minister of Works Manor to investigate the matter of him embezzling resources from the National Treasury and abusing his authority for personal gain. Yes. The fatty was immediately scared silly. He quickly knelt on the ground, wiping away his snot and tears as he said, Your Highness Prince Exon, please spare my life. I, Zhang Rang, have been working conscientiously for so many years and have never abused my authority for personal gain. My son's villa is only what he got from running the Merchant Association. He has never taken any bribes. If Your Highness Prince Exon doesn't trust me, this old subject is willing to bring my son to the streets to beg and help Your Highness gather the 500 million Jin coins. There's no need for that. Feng Jixing snickered and said, Your reputation as a miser has long spread far and wide. Otherwise, His Highness, you wouldn't have personally chosen you to be the Ministry of Revenue's minister. You just need to gather the 500 million Jin coins and hand it over to the Ministry of Works. As for the National Treasury, you must keep a record of every single item of the Treasury's income and expenditures and submit a copy to the Zetian Palace Hall every month. You and I trust you very much and believe that you can manage the Qin Empire's National Treasury well. Don't disappoint us. Yes. Yes, this old subject understands. Feng Jixing had already made Zhang Rang obediently by using both carrots and carrots. Zheng Yifan said, According to His Highness Yu's description, there is a type of troop in the celestial pole continent called the Dragon Cavalry Troops. They are a group of warriors who ride on giant dragons and have astonishing power. If this is really the case, we must be prepared. Otherwise, we might be controlled by them at the first step. Yes. Feng Jixing nodded and said, The Dragon Cavalry is indeed very troublesome, but it's very difficult for us to deal with an army in the air. Ordinary arrows are unable to penetrate dragon armor. Even if it's a white diamond arrowhead, due to the weight and speed of the arrowhead, it might not be able to penetrate dragon armor. As for the magic crystal cannons, they might not be able to accurately hit the giant dragons either. Sigh. Qin Yan looked at Feng Jixing's frown and said, Your Highness Prince Exen, let's take it one step at a time. We haven't even seen a real dragon rider yet. It's still too early to consider how to deal with them. After all, Qin Yan was still too young. Feng Jixing let out a bitter laugh and didn't say anything. At this moment, Zheng Yifan narrowed his eyes and said, I wonder if the two of you still remember what Duke Wei Weiqiu is best at? Qin Yan was stunned. Archery. That's right. Zheng Yifan smiled faintly and said, It's precisely archery that can shoot a willow tree from 100 steps away. With Duke Wei's ability, he can shoot an enemy from 200 meters away with a 150 kilograms strong bow. This old subject is thinking, if we can train giant warhawks and let our army's godly archers ride on giant eagles and only shoot the eyes of the dragon riders' mounts, would it be effective? Feng Jixing was startled. Will it work? If they ride on warhawks, not only will their bodies be unstable, but the trajectory of the arrows will also be easily affected by the strong winds in the air. If they want to shoot a small dragon's eye, I'm afraid it won't be easy. But do we have any other way? Zheng Yifan let out a bitter laugh. Feng Jixing was speechless and waved his hand. It seems like that is indeed the case. Since that is the case, Duke Zhong shouldn't return to your fief in the Seven Seas province for now. Stay in the imperial capital and help the Ministry of War develop this type of warhawk godly archer. Yes, this old subject obeys. The entire Zetian palace fell into silence once again. Everyone was thinking about different things, but after this conversation, Feng Jixing and Qin Yan had a preliminary impression and confidence of facing the enemy in the distance. Chapter 732. The Mugwort Mountain was a mountain range within the territory of the West Mountain Province. It stretched for 700 miles, almost running through the entire province. Not only did hunters and mercenaries live in the Mugwort Mountain, but there were also countless spirit beasts, demon beasts, and part of the Lanji Corps, one of the 4 armies of the Tianji Empire. The whole Mugwort Mountain was a complicated area, and had been in turmoil for thousands of years. But because there were so many demon beasts and spirit beasts in the mountain, the emperor of the empire, Baiming Yuan, could do nothing about it. Even if he sent out the Dragon Rider Corps to wipe them out, it would be a waste of time. So it was better to let the land run its own course. But in this way, many powerful warriors appeared. It was said that there were more than 20 Saint Martial Venerables in the Mugwort Mountain. On the south side of the Mugwort Mountain, the mountain path was difficult to walk. In the chaos, the two slowly walked on the mountain path full of thorns. Ouch! Lu Bai complained incessantly. He opened his water pouch and took a big gulp. Then he grumbled, Young hero, since you can fly, why don't you bring me over this mountain range? Why do we have to walk step by step and make ourselves suffer? Lin Muyu walked in the front leisurely. This journey was really a piece of cake for him. He looked back at Lu Bai and said, Bai, didn't you say that you want to become a Saint Martial warrior, a powerful warrior respected by all? You can't even take this hardship to become a Saint Martial warrior? No, Lu Bai still wanted to argue, but Lin Muyu said, Let's go. Once I start flying, I will soon be targeted. Do you want to be targeted by the Dragon Rider? But the Dragon Rider is not a match for you at all. You are so powerful, I have seen it all. Lu Bai had developed an almost crazy admiration for Lin Muyu, his big brother. In his eyes, even if Baiming Huan, the marshal of the empire who was ranked among the martial gods, came here, Lin Muyu would still be able to kill him. Lin Muyu was too lazy to argue and only said, That's because those 2 dragon riders were too weak. If it was a dragon rider general, an expert like Sichuan, then I might only be able to sit and wait for death. It can't be. Lu Bai was speechless, but he didn't say anything more. He just silently circulated the elementary chapter of the Forging Dragon Bone Remnant Scroll that Lin Muyu had taught him. He felt a warm current gradually emerging in his qi, and the strength he had consumed while walking was also somewhat replenished. He immediately became excited, feeling that he was about to cultivate his Qi King's fighting flame, and advance into the realm of God. Not long after, the sound of cackling came from the sky again. Lu Bai frowned. What a familiar voice. Wolf Falcon. Lin Muyu looked up and saw that the wolf falcon was indeed circling in the sky. He couldn't help but smile and casually broke off a fist-sized stone from the side of the mountain. Young hero, what are you doing? Lu Bai was stunned. This wolf falcon is at least 1,000 meters away from us. Even a godly archer might not be able to hit it. This stone of yours, isn't it a little too superficial? Watch carefully. Lin Muyu smiled faintly and suddenly bent his body. His whole body shot out like a bow, and the stone in his hand shot out with a schwa sound. It was so fast that the friction in the air actually caused sparks to appear, and it shot into the sky like a meteor. But, in the midst of the blood spurting out, the wolf falcon fell from the sky, landing in the grass not far away. Lu Bai's mouth was already wide open. Perhaps he shouldn't use common sense to measure this young ranger in front of him. Up until now, Lin Muyu hadn't mentioned a single word about his identity, so Lu Bai could only think that he was a ranger. Ranger was everywhere in the Celestial Pole. Wanderers could be found everywhere in the Celestial Pole continent. The so-called wanderers were just a group of people who cultivated martial arts and were unwilling to farm. Some had cultivated to the peak of martial arts and became a grand master of a generation, while some had only taken a peek at the door and finally became a hooligan who ran amok in the countryside. The majority of people belonged to the latter category. Therefore, wanderers were not worthy of the word chivalry. In their eyes, there was no chivalry to speak of. There was only power and money. Lin Muyu stepped on the shrubs and flew over, lifting the wolf falcon's corpse. It was indeed a feathered animal, but it was much larger than an ordinary falcon. The wolf's head had been smashed in half by the stone, and it looked somewhat ferocious. Lin Muyu raised his hand and condensed a fire blade, and with a palm strike the wolf's head was cut off, and the force of the palm strike charred the wolf falcon's neck. Lin Muyu leaped to Lu Bai's side, raised the wolf falcon and said, "Look, this is enough for us to eat 3 to 5 meals." Wolf falcon, I've never eaten a wolf falcon before. Lu Bai was delighted. Isn't it just eating bird meat? Is there a need to be so happy? Lin Muyu was puzzled. Young hero, there's something you don't know. Lu Bai began to speak eloquently. This wolf falcon is also known as a dragon falcon. It's said that wolf falcons were bred by the dragon rider ancestors tens of thousands of years ago. In order to maintain their extremely sharp sense of smell, wolf falcons have been fed with the fragments of dragon crystals since childhood, so wolf falcons are extremely valuable. They have always been raised by dragon rider regiments, and I've only heard that a prince of the empire once bought a wolf falcon. Just this one cost him 700,000 gold coins, which is enough to feed half a small city for half a year. It can't be right. Lin Muyu weighed the wolf falcon in her hand and couldn't help laughing. I didn't expect this thing to be so valuable. You can't blame me. I've already warned Hu Yin and Li Ku not to follow me anymore. Since they dare to send wolf falcons, then so be it. We'll eat as many as they send. How about it, Lini? Lu Bai was ecstatic. Good, I'll definitely eat more tonight. This day's journey has consumed too much physical strength. And when night fell, the two of them could only set up camp deep in the mountains. Lin Muyu chose a place that was close to a cave and had a wide view to set up camp. Even after stepping into the divine realm, he still maintained the judgment and accomplishment that an imperial soldier should have. Such a camp was not easy to be discovered, and when outsiders entered he could easily detect it himself. They started a bonfire with dead wood that they picked up from all over the place. Lu Bai was also a pitiful charlatan. Camping in the wild was as common as eating to him. After setting up the bonfire, he removed the feathers of the eagle and removed the dirt, pierced it with a wooden stick and placed it above the flame to roast. Then he took out the oil, salt, soy sauce, vinegar and chili powder that he bought from the town at the foot of the mountain and sprinkled them on the eagle's meat. The meat was covered in oil and made a squeaking sound which was very tempting. The eagle flew all year round, so the meat on its wings and chest were all well tempered. Under the roasting of the fire and the nourishment of the oil, the fragrance of the meat quickly spread. Lin Muyu unconsciously sniffed and said with a smile, "It smells so good. Lini, your barbecue skills are superb." "Is that so? Thank you for your praise, young hero." Lu Bai had a gratified look on his face as he said, "Thinking back, I once joined a spirit hunting group and was responsible for cooking for everyone. And that's probably how I trained my skills." Spirit hunting group? What's that? It's a group of individuals that hunt demon spirits. Apart from the Tianji dragon riders that roam around and hunt demon spirits, the experts among the commoners will also form a few spirit hunting groups to hunt some low-level demon spirits. My spirit hunting group had 7 people, but they weren't very strong. Later on, when we were hunting a Tier 9 demon spirit, the group leader died in battle and the group was disbanded. Not bad. The corner of Lin Muyu's mouth drew back. A spirit hunting group that had their leader die in the line of duty while hunting the lowest level demon spirits. Sure enough, they weren't weak at all. Lu Bai awkwardly smiled and said, "What do you think? If you want to hunt demon spirits, then you must cultivate. However, the price of cultivation is too expensive. The rich members of the landowning households can buy some reflux pills, rare elixirs, and other medicines to help generate true qi and nourish the body. When they are born, high-level combat skills and martial arts are already prepared. Look at us poor children, humph. A low-level martial art manual can easily cost tens of gold coins. How could we possibly afford it?" As he spoke, Lu Bai looked towards Lin Muyu. He was actually a little touched as he said, "Young hero, you taught me the forging dragon bone remnant scroll without any hesitation. To me, Lu Bai, this is truly the grace of a new life. No need to be so polite. Don't burn the meat and wipe away your tears. It's so embarrassing." "Ah, that's right. Lu Bai smiled foolishly. Although he was a swindler who read people's faces and brows, he was also a person born in poverty. His personality was still very simple and honest. This also made Lin Muyu secretly decide that before she left the Celestial Pole mainland, she would definitely teach Lu Bai some skills so that he could survive in this chaotic world. Not long after, the fragrance of the meat became increasingly rich. Lin Muyu could no longer hold it in. She took out a small demonic noise knife and cut off a piece of meat from the wolf falcon's chest. It was crispy and fragrant as it entered her mouth. She simply couldn't enjoy it more. The wolf falcon's meat that had been raised on dragon crystal fragments was indeed delicious. She didn't know what the heavenly jade dragon riders would think if they knew what she was thinking. They would probably cry, right? She ate heartily. It had been a long time since she had a good meal like this. After Lin Muyu ate and drank her fill, she leaned against the stone wall and closed her eyes to rest. They still had to continue their journey tomorrow, so she had to make sure that her body was at its peak. After all, in her two-man team, Lu Bai's battle prowess was equivalent to 0, so she had to take care of everything. As for Lu Bai, after he ate and drank his fill, he took out a small, sparkling and translucent stone from his bosom. "What's that?" asked Lin Muyu. "Demon Spirit Stone." Lu Bai said, "Have you forgotten? It's the crystallized essence of the demon spirit you killed. It's said that after refining the demon spirit stone, you can absorb a portion of the spiritual energy and convert it into your own cultivation. Otherwise, why do you think the heavenly jade dragon riders and so many cultivators would go hunting for demon spirits?" "Oh, I see." Lin Muyu nodded, smiled and asked, "Do you know how to refine it?" "I don't know. What are you looking at if you don't know?" Lin Muyu opened her hand. "I know. Come, I'll help you refine it. Just focus on absorbing the spiritual energy in the demon spirit stone." "Really? Why would I lie to you?" Thank you, young hero." Lu Bai was ecstatic. Chapter 733. Swish, swish. The night was quiet, but there was a sparkling luster under the rock walls. The divine power of the law of fire was the most suitable for tempering. The demon spirit stone in Lin Muyu's palm was constantly turning, and it had already begun to decompose into energy particles the size of pomegranate seeds. These particles were pure energy bodies, containing more than half of the spiritual power of the demon spirit when it was alive. "Lini, do your best to absorb, but don't force yourself." "Yes, young hero." Lu Bai sat on the spot and circulated the elementary mental cultivation method of the forging dragon bone remnant scroll. He only felt the spiritual power constantly lingering around him. Lin Muyu was guiding him to absorb this energy from the outside world. Not long after, the spiritual power turned into a warm current and seeped into his energy sea, causing Lu Bai's originally very shallow energy sea to instantly fill up. Very quickly, his face flushed red as he said, "Young hero, I can't do it anymore. I feel like my stomach is about to explode. Stop absorbing." After stopping absorbing, Lu Bai's expression became calm. Next, he only needed to digest this spiritual power by himself. Lin Muyu looked at the demon spirit stone particles revolving in her palm. Lu Bai had only absorbed less than 1,000th of it, which was really too much of a pity. Thus, Lin Muyu circulated her energy and tried to use her supreme divine power to guide these demon spirit stone energy particles into her energy sea. Suddenly there was a feeling of trickling into the sea. The spiritual power of this demon spirit stone was only a hair from 9 oxen compared to Lin Muyu's strength, but it was always good to have some. Not long after, the pomegranate seeds in her palm were all refined. Lin Muyu also felt as if new nutrients had been injected into his energy sea. At this moment, the demon spirit stone was only about 1/3 of his energy sea, but there was still new energy for him to absorb. For a moment he was extremely excited. Cultivators in the Shattered Cauldron realm all had a bottleneck: martial soul cultivation. When the martial soul was upgraded to a certain level, it could no longer refine and absorb the energy of wild beasts. This was also the reason why many people were stuck at a certain level for decades or even centuries. Only when the martial soul was upgraded could they absorb and refine the spirit of wild beasts to increase their strength. Normally, they couldn't absorb any energy from the spirit of wild beasts. At this moment, Lin Muyu finally understood why there were so many sacred martial gods, sacred martial kings, and sacred martial venerables in the celestial pole continent. The reason was Demon Spirit Stone. Demon Spirit Stone could be used by cultivators at any time throughout the year. This was more than twice the effort for half the result. Demon Spirit Stone would be the dominant factor of the continent in the future. To the people of the celestial pole continent, the Shattered Cauldron realm was a piece of juicy meat. However, at this moment Lin Muyu changed her view. To the cultivators of the Shattered Cauldron realm, the celestial pole continent was the real juicy meat. Very quickly, he made up his mind that he must collect enough demon spirit stones in the heavenly greatness continent before returning to the empire. If he had enough demon spirit stone, Chu Yao could step into the god realm and maintain his youthful appearance forever. If he had enough demon spirit stone, Guyang could easily step into the saint realm and stop aging. Then he could cultivate to become a god and obtain eternal life. If he had enough demon spirit stone, the Qin Empire could also cultivate enough divine kings and divine emperors to compete with the experts in the celestial pole continent. For a moment Lin Muyu felt that the burden on his shoulders was too heavy. He was very clear about how precious demon spirit stone was. However, people in the celestial pole continent were also very clear that to get enough demon spirit stone of a high enough level, one had to fight for it with a sword. He couldn't help but feel regretful. When he was in the clear desolation city, he should have taken the risk and snatched the demon spirit stone from Sichuan. That was an excellent treasure. However, it was too late to regret. There was no medicine for regret in this world. Late at night, Lu Bai covered himself with some straw and fell asleep. Lin Muyu, on the other hand, couldn't fall asleep. His gaze was fixed on the fertile forest in the distance. The people of the celestial pole were trying to crush the mountains and rivers that Qin Yin had painstakingly unified. No matter what, even if he had to risk his life, he had to stop them. The road of cultivation was long and distant. No one knew what the future would be like. However, even if one couldn't see the future clearly, he must continue to work hard. Not knowing how long it had been, a strong wave suddenly came from the spiritual pulse technique. Something was coming. According to the pulse of the power, it didn't seem to be a spirit beast, so it could only be a demon spirit. Moreover, it was very strong, not inferior to the venerable demon that Sichuan had killed. Lini, wake up. Lin Muyu said lightly. What's wrong? Lu Bai rubbed his eyes. Lin Muyu said, something is coming. Be careful and act according to my signal. Ah. Lu Bai was confused. He didn't know what was going to happen. Not long after, a rustling sound came. It was the sound of footsteps on the grass. The light of the bonfire slowly swayed. From afar, a beautiful figure slowly walked over. It was a young girl wearing a beast skin robe and holding a longbow. She looked to be around 18 years old. She was slender and elegant, and her figure could be considered a stunner. She was curvaceous, and the beast skin robe couldn't wrap around her. Wah! Lu Bai's eyes started to shine. It's a young girl from a hunter family. What a stunner! Lin Muyu sneered. Your cultivation is too shallow. You can't see what's beneath the surface. Oh. Lu Bai smiled. It's because my cultivation is too shallow that I'm moved by women's charms. I'm not like you. You look like a monk in meditation. Lin Muyu was speechless. At this time, the young girl from a hunter family had already walked over. She smiled slightly. I'm a hunter in the mountains. I followed my father to hunt a wild boar and got lost. Now I'm lost. There are jackals and wolves everywhere in the mountains, so I'll have to trouble you too. Can I spend the night here? I'll leave tomorrow at dawn. Lu Bai hurriedly said, Okay. I'll make room for you here. Lin Muyu frowned and smiled. Miss, you're so beautiful. You're a demon yourself. Why would you be afraid of the jackals and wolves in the mountains? Yo, the young girl glanced at Lin Muyu and said, What are you talking about, young master? As long as I'm human, I won't be afraid of jackals and wolves. Besides, I can't see the road clearly at night. Where do you want a weak girl like me to go? Lu Bai had already vacated the meadow. He patted the meadow with his palms. Miss, you can sleep here tonight. I'll protect you. By the way, I haven't asked for your name. My name is Lu Lian. Thank you for your care, young master. As she spoke, Lu Lian didn't go to Lu Bai's side. Instead, she walked directly to Lin Muyu's side and sat down by the campfire. She said, I'll stay here. The mountain winds are strong and it's quite cold at night. Don't you think so, young master? She blew the wind by her ear. A warm feeling came to Lin Muyu's ear. Lu Bai's face turned green. He was so attentive, but the young girl didn't buy it at all. Instead, she went to Lin Muyu's side. This was indeed a world where looks mattered. Could one get many women just because he was handsome? I, Lu Bai, am not convinced. He thought silently. However, Lin Muyu didn't think that the intimate attitude of the young girl was a good thing. The fluctuation of her spiritual pulse technique was very strong, and the demonic energy in the young girl's body was extremely tyrannical. As expected, demonic spirits were different from the spiritual beasts in the Shattered Cauldron realm. High-level demonic spirits could transform, and could even transform into such a beautiful woman. No wonder so many people fell for it. If she wasn't here today, Lu Bai would have fallen for it without a doubt. It would be fine if he could get intimate with her before he died, but if he didn't even enjoy this, then his death would have been too unjust. Of course, at this moment Lu Bai's face turned green. He watched as the young girl leaned against Lin Muyu's side and spoke with a smile. She even used her big and round breasts to rub against Lin Muyu's arm. That feeling must be big and soft, right? Lin Muyu was silent. Soft my ass. Her arm felt as if it was being pressed by a shield. It was ice cold. This young girl was cold all over. She was clearly a cold-blooded demonic spirit. Is that enough? He turned his face and looked at the young girl. A faint golden light shone in his eyes as he said, How many people have you harmed with this method? Yo hee, the young girl's expression suddenly changed. She laughed exaggeratedly and said, Young man, you have some skills. You're actually unmoved even after this. I think you're clearly not a man. You're not even interested in touching a delicious meal that's delivered to your doorstep. Is that so? The speed of his attack was extremely fast. He opened his 5 fingers and grabbed the young girl's neck. He used all his strength to throw her out. Bang! With a loud sound, the young girl rolled far away among the rocks. What the hell? Lu Bai's jaw was about to hit the ground. Young hero, you're too ruthless. You're playing with such violence. How can the young lady stand it? Can't you be gentle? Look for yourself. What kind of young lady is she? When Lu Bai looked again, he was scared out of his wits. Among the rocks, the beautiful face had already been torn into pieces. What replaced it was a giant head that looked like a lizard. The moment the human skin was torn apart, she turned into a 3-meter-tall demon spirit. There were a total of 2 colors on its neck. One was red and the other was green. This was a Demon King-level demon spirit. It's over. I'm dead. Lu Bai's expression was filled with panic. Lin Muyu raised her hand and took out her long sword. She lightly said, Commoner, if you were in my army, I would have already ordered you to be executed. Why? To disturb the army's morale. Before Lin Muyu finished her words, she turned into a beam of light and charged forward. A Demon King-level demon spirit's strength isn't any weaker than a low-level divine king. Facing such an opponent, she had to go all out. Her first move was the Stellar Arts Winding River of Falling Moon. The sword light turned into a crescent moon as it heavily slammed into the demon spirit's neck. Boom! Golden light rippled out. Lin Muyu's sword did not manage to cut off the Demon King's head. It only managed to cut off a few of its scales. On the contrary, the Demon King's expression became extremely ferocious. It swiped its claws and roared with a voice that was neither male nor female. Stinking brat, you're courting death. Pop! Golden light burst out. The Demon King's claws actually passed through the dragon blood shield and directly slapped onto Lin Muyu's arm. Instantly, a burning pain came from her arm. She was bleeding. What a powerful Demon King. In just one round it had already caused a superficial wound on Lin Muyu.